Uchiha will divide Konoha. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction, so don't try any techniques you hear here in real life. Your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 1: Executing a Family-Level Mission. Uchiha Naga Shrine. What? In the dimly lit, solemn chamber, Uchiha Yoru's eyes widened. He pointed at himself, staring at Elder Uchiha Setsuna nodding at him, and at the indifferent expression of Fugaku, the Uchiha clan head. Clan head, elders, back then, for the sake of the Uchiha clan's pride. During my time at the Ninja Academy, because of Kurina Iyuhi, I fought with Saratobi Asuma, and I deeply realized my mistake. Uchiha Yoru's eyes were wide, looking utterly incredulous, as if to say, how could you do this? Fugaku Uchiha remained silent, seemingly oblivious to what was happening, while Elder Setsuna coughed lightly, his expression grave. He said in a deep voice, the Uchiha clan is about to relocate, and almost none of the Jonin in the village trust them. It was the third day after Konoha suffered the Nine Tails attack. The first day was the funeral for the fourth Hokage and countless ninjas. The second day, Hiruzen Saratobi, the third Hokage, announced his return to power, and the third day, the village's clan territories were reorganized under the pretext of rebuilding Konoha. Today, the clan head had just informed them to prepare for relocation. As for why Jonin were mentioned, only Jonin were qualified to participate in the Nine Tails attack and had a chance to survive. The losses of the other Chunin and Jinan were mostly incidental, and they naturally didn't know that the Nine Tails was controlled by the Sharingan. Yoru Uchiha's face also turned serious upon hearing this, but his gaze drifted to Shisui Uchiha beside him, a scene that naturally caught everyone's attention. Uchiha Shisui lowered his head awkwardly. He was only 13 years old. Uchiha Yoru said unwillingly, Shisui's age is just right too. Shisui was instantly embarrassed, while Elder Setsuna sighed softly, Yoru, your talent is undeniable. Shisui only has a mere talent for cultivation, but you are different. Good heavens! What did he mean by only has a mere talent for cultivation? Shisui nodded repeatedly, while Yoru, seeing this, looked somewhat troubled. The first elder, seeing this, felt somewhat helpless, then shook his head and said, this mission is extremely difficult. After discussing it with the clan head, I've decided to assign it to you as a clan A rank mission, with a reward of 1 million. Uchiha Yoru, who had been looking troubled just a moment ago, instantly transformed upon hearing the $1 million reward. His expression vanished instantly, replaced by a look of unwavering righteousness, fervor, solemnity, and reverence. He solemnly nodded and said, for the revival of the Uchiha. For the village. Clan head, elders. Rest assured, Uchiha Yoru will definitely complete the mission. Good heavens, 1 second he looked troubled, the next he was ready to sacrifice himself. Uchiha Shisui, standing to the side, was incredibly embarrassed. Although it was all for the sake of easing tensions between the clan and the village, it still felt a bit shameless. Looking at this young man who so shamelessly expressed his greed for the clan, even the clan head, Uchiha Fugaku, couldn't help but twitch his eye. If he didn't know this young man's background so well, he might have actually believed him. Uchiha Yoru, 14 years old, a Chunin, awakened his Sharingan with a 1-tomo on the night of the Nine Tails attack. Meanwhile, Uchiha Shisui, standing beside him, was already a 3-tomo genius. Although still a Chunin, his strength, enhanced by the Sharingan, had reached Jonin level. But even Shisui admitted his inferior talent. Looking at the righteous and handsome young man before him, Fugaku sighed inwardly. In this aspect, Shisui truly couldn't compare. Uchiha Yoru wore a pure white kimono and black trousers. His chest was open, slightly revealing his striking muscles. Dark black arm guards covered his forearms and extended to his hands. A black rope belt was tied around his waist, with a ninja sword tucked horizontally. Although only 14, he was already 1.7 meters tall. His chiseled, handsome, and aloof face, combined with his attire, made him truly imposing. His current appearance was remarkably similar to Sasuke's during his time with Team Taka. Especially upon seeing Uchiha Yoru's face and tall, imposing figure, Elder Setsuna couldn't help but nod in admiration, saying, Yoru, The Uchiha clan is now at a critical juncture. Although the Third Hokage is in power, it's merely to stabilize the turbulent situation. Once things stabilize, a fifth Hokage will be chosen, and right now, only the Sannin are qualified to compete for the fifth Hokage position, but Tsunade is currently missing, and Jiraiya is on a secret mission in another country, unlikely to return for another year or two. Only Orochimaru will become the future fifth Hokage. Whether our Uchiha clan can regain the Hokage's trust depends entirely on you. As he said this, the elder's expression became even more solemn. Even Uchiha Fugaku, standing beside him, wore a grave expression. Seeing this, Uchiha Shisui's eyes shone with determination. For the sake of the clan and the village's trust, they had to become a bridge. Upon seeing this, Uchiha Yoru nodded solemnly. Clan head, elders, rest assured, I will do my utmost to approach Orochimaru's Chunin disciple, Materashi Enko. Indeed. The Third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, has returned under the guise of temporarily taking power to stabilize the village as a transitional measure. Once the turbulent situation calms down, he will abdicate. This is a direct quote from the anime. Orochimaru was originally one of the candidates for the fourth Hokage, and in the eyes of many, he was practically a shoo-in for the future fifth Hokage. Having just experienced the Nine-Tails attack, Konoha had almost no one who trusted the Uchiha clan. To regain their rightful place and restore trust, the Uchiha needed to cultivate a good relationship with the future fifth Hokage. Anko was the perfect entry point. If a member of the Uchiha clan of similar age could approach Orochimaru's disciple, even if they were too young, establishing a relationship could ease tensions. However, no one expected that Orochimaru, the figure almost universally anticipated, would betray them. Episode 586. After Orochimaru impures the power of the previous four Hokage, Minato still calls him Orochimaru-sensei, suggesting Orochimaru's defection occurred after the Nine-Tails attack. Fugaku Uchiha and the elder beside him exchanged a glance. Although he was a bit young, his age was just right. More importantly, Uchiha Yoru was the most handsome member of their clan at that age, and he had even awakened the Sharingan, albeit recently, but his talent was undeniable. Clan head, elders, as you know, Anko, as Orochimaru's disciple, needs some funding, Uchiha Yoru said somewhat awkwardly. Seeing this, Fugaku and the elder twitched. If they didn't know his greedy nature, they might have actually believed him. Alright, I'll allocate you 200,000 ryo first. You have to feed the horse if you want it to run. This principle remains unchanged throughout history. The elder spoke generously, without any hesitation. Upon hearing this, Uchiha Yoru immediately smiled. Greedy? He didn't want to be either, but this system required real money purchases. All his savings had been spent 3 days ago on the night of the Nine-Tails to buy the Sharingan. Without some funds, he wouldn't be able to pick up girls, he'd be starving. Now, he frowned, somewhat troubled about how to explain this to Yuhi Kirnei. After all, she and Anko were best friends. New book launch. Please support. Chapter 2, Making Empty Promises to Zishu. Konoha. 3 days ago, Konoha suffered its greatest disaster in history. At its peak, the Nine-Tails was an absolutely terrifying natural calamity, its earth-shattering attack causing varying degrees of damage to 2/3 of the village's buildings. Ultimately, the Nine-Tails rampage ended at the cost of the fourth Hokage and his wife, along with countless ninja. Meanwhile, the recently concluded Third Shinobi World War also became unstable due to Konoha's sudden and devastating blow, particularly on the borders. This was the most important reason why the Third Hokage was able to emerge and take power so easily. If the situation had stabilized, the fifth Hokage would likely have been chosen instead of the third. Furthermore, because of the Sharingan in the Nine-Tails eye, the Uchiha clan in Konoha was already suspected and distrusted. The higher-ups, using the pretext of Konoha's need for redevelopment, directly relegated the Uchiha to the periphery, far from the village center. Although the Uchiha clan was strongly dissatisfied, they could only suppress their resentment. There was no other way. The Sharingan in the Nine-Tails eye could not be erased. From then on, the conflict between the Uchiha clan and Konoha gradually veered towards an irreconcilable point. Yoru, how do you think the clan can regain the village's trust? And the village's losses this time are too great. Uchiha Shisui, who had just stepped out of the Naka shrine, looked visibly worried. Seeing this, Uchiha Yoru couldn't help but sigh. No wonder the second Hokage said the Uchiha clan was extreme. He wasn't worried about the Uchiha clan, but rather about the village. Uchiha Yoru feigned a sorrowful expression, sighed, and shook his head, saying, Shisui, It's not about how the clan can regain the village's trust, but how the village can gain the Uchiha's trust. Seeing Uchiha Shisui's bewildered expression, Uchiha Yoru secretly thought to himself that he had to quickly rescue Shisui, who was currently lost in his own world, before he went down a dead end. He couldn't let Shisui side with the Hokage. Otherwise, it would be like in the original story, 3 main decay Sharingan users from the Uchiha clan, 2 of whom were devoted to Sarutobi, and the third silently chose to be killed by his own son. You'd think that if the Uchiha clan survived, it would be an injustice. Their strongest fighters would all be mentally unstable. Furthermore, Shisui couldn't have been brainwashed much earlier. It's more likely he developed a favorable impression of the Hokage after the Nine Tails incident, when the village's wariness of the Uchiha led the Third Hokage to secretly cultivate his own network of spies within the clan. Shisui was gradually assimilated after the Nine Tails incident, while Itachi was still just a 5-year-old child at that time. Shisui, so many members of the clan are seething with anger this time. But to prove their innocence, to show they are members of Konoha, the Uchiha clan humiliatingly agreed to relocate to the edge of the village, and will be under constant surveillance. The Uchiha clan has already abandoned their pride, and the village should have seen that. This time, Uchiha Yoru glanced meaningfully at Shisui, feigning a look of frustration and helplessness, as if he could only grit his teeth and swallow his anger. This scene stunned Uchiha Shisui. Yes, the proudest Uchiha clan had set aside their pride and chosen the humiliating relocation. Wasn't that proving their innocence to the village? Seeing the hope in Shisui's eyes, Uchiha Yoru sighed inwardly. Sure enough, this Uchiha Shisui was out of his mind, or rather, completely blank in this respect. No one is born on one side, everyone gradually moves towards one side. Seeing this, Uchiha Yoru couldn't help but sigh. The Uchiha clan's cultivation of their own geniuses was still inadequate. No, it should be said that the Uchiha were too confident that their geniuses bore the Uchiha surname. Yoru, do you think if we move to a new place, will the village trust us again? Uchiha Shisui's eyes shone with hope, while Uchiha Yoru frowned and pondered for a long time before finally letting out a soft sigh. This scene immediately piqued Uchiha Shisui's curiosity, and he looked at him hopefully. Uchiha Yoru glanced around warily, and only after confirming no one was around did he mutter to himself. Shisui, you're too naive. If the 4th Hokage were still alive, the Uchiha would naturally have more trust in him. Similarly, even if any one of the legendary Sannin became the 5th Hokage, the Uchiha would still have more trust. Uchiha Yoru's words left Shisui looking bewildered. He muttered to himself, sure enough, Shisui is a genius when it comes to ninjas, but he's utterly hopeless when it comes to politics. Of course, he couldn't be blamed. After all, the ninja world had only been established for a few years, there were hardly any generations. It wasn't that they lacked experience, the main problem was that they simply had no predecessors. Brother Knight, why do you say that any one of the Sannin would be better off as the 5th Hokage than the 3rd Hokage? At this moment, Shisui, who was frowning in confusion, unconsciously used the title of brother. Hearing this respectful address, Uchiha Knight's heart swelled with a victorious smile. Sure enough, as long as you wield the whole well, there's no wall that can't be breached. He refused to believe that once the Uchiha clan was completely united, even those 2 who sided with the enemy would be easily wiped out after he had fooled them. Uchiha Knight shook his head and sighed. Shisui, do you know about Elder Setsuna's past? These words immediately caused Shisui's face to show embarrassment. He cautiously glanced around, and after not sensing the presence of any other ninjas, he whispered, how could I not know? What does it have to do with this? Uchiha Setsuna was a member of the Konoha police force during the 2nd Hokage's reign, inheriting the will of Uchiha Madara, and belonging to the Hokage faction. Later, he was discovered by the 2nd Hokage for attempting to incite the Uchiha clan to rebel. Ultimately, Setsuna was arrested by members of the Anbu dispatched by the 2nd Hokage and imprisoned. Reference available. It was only after the 3rd Hokage came to power and, in an effort to stabilize morale, was he released from prison. Afterward, this elder became despondent, but remained a relatively strong figure within the Uchiha clan. Seeing Uchiha Shisui's cautious expression, Uchiha Yoru gestured for the 2 to walk towards the waterfall, talking as they went. Shisui, you know the 2nd Hokage's policies. After all, in that special period, it was only right to be wary of the Uchiha clan. Similarly, how do you think his disciples, who inherited his ideas, view the Uchiha clan? This question directly surprised Shisui. He had never considered this possibility before, but as a descendant of the Uchiha clan, he naturally understood some things. He frowned, clearly deeply shaken, or rather, he had never thought about things from this perspective before. Sensing Shisui's wavering heart, Yoru smiled and shook his head, saying, "Shisui, don't be discouraged. Although the third Hokage inherited the second Hokage's ideas, he will eventually step down. As for Danzo and the two high-ranking officials, let's not talk about them for now. After all, Orochimaru is currently the most likely successor to the fifth Hokage. In short, I won't speak ill of the third Hokage, but I can offer you another perspective. During the third Hokage's reign, did he truly trust the Uchiha clan? Furthermore, there was the second Hokage's policy of guarding against the Uchiha clan. How could a disciple not inherit it?" These words initially made Shisui frown, even feeling some resentment and disagreement, but then the fifth Hokage was mentioned, instantly making the previous statements seem insignificant. At this moment, Uchiha Shisui raised his head, looking at his clansman who was only a year older than him. Uchiha Yoru, seeing this, shrugged, a confident smile on his face, and said, "Shisui, don't worry. I know the Sannin, absolutely none of them have any prejudice against the Uchiha. After all, it wasn't that era." Referring back to the second Hokage's era, that period was shortly after Madara Uchiha's rebellion, followed by the first Hokage's death. It would be untrue to say the second Hokage wasn't wary, therefore, calling it a special period is entirely accurate. After all, it was equivalent to the Uchiha clan indirectly causing the first Hokage's death. The third Hokage succeeded during that period. Since the second Hokage's reign was short-lived, how could there be no impact? But the Sannin were still teenagers at that time, so it's normal that they weren't affected. Upon hearing this, Uchiha Shisui felt a strange sense of relief. Although he wanted to refute it, a smile immediately appeared on his face when he heard that whoever the future fifth Hokage might be, would not be prejudiced against the Uchiha clan. Yes, regardless of whether the past was right or wrong, it was about to become history. All they needed to do was befriend the future fifth Hokage. Seeing Uchiha Shisui's expectant smile, Uchiha Yoru sneered inwardly. First, he'd leave Shisui with the impression that the third Hokage and his group inherited the second Hokage's wariness of the Uchiha, then he'd present the new hope of the future fifth Hokage. Then, when Shisui discovered the fifth Hokage was gone and the third Hokage firmly held on to power. Thinking of this, a slow, wicked smile crept onto his lips. With him there, he didn't believe Shisui could be so easily brainwashed. Once the seed of doubt is planted, it may not show up immediately, but it needs to be watered from time to time to help it sprout and even grow into a towering tree. Then, HMPH. Brother Yi, what kind of person do you think Lord Orochimaru is? At this moment, Uchiha Shisui is clearly engrossed in his grand plan. Of course, it's not that Shisui was brainless, but no one would have thought that Orochimaru would defect. Moreover, Orochimaru was currently the most popular choice in the entire village. It was likely that once the border stabilized, the fifth Hokage would be elected. Seeing Uchiha Shisui's hopeful expression, Uchiha Yoru, standing beside him, readily agreed, beaming, "I've heard that Lord Orochimaru, though somewhat cold and even unpredictable, is definitely a trustworthy person. After all, he was one of the candidates for the fourth Hokage." When he mentioned being one of the candidates for the fourth Hokage, Uchiha Shisui instantly smiled and nodded firmly, "That's right. Although Lord Orochimaru is rather ruthless on the battlefield, that's the decisiveness indispensable for a Hokage." At this moment, in Uchiha Shisui's eyes, those chosen as Hokage were all inheritors of the will of fire. Orochimaru's decisiveness in commanding the ninja army on the battlefield, while causing some casualties, also won victory after victory, a decisiveness indispensable for a Hokage. Tisk, Uchiha Yoru chuckled. "You really have a vivid imagination. Looks like you've been exposed to a lot of Naruto inspirational stories at school, you can even fill in the blanks with your own head. But when you see Orochimaru defecting someday, tisk, just thinking about it made Uchiha Yoru look forward to it. Shisui's expression would definitely be priceless. Please support." Chapter 3 Money Boyfriend. Host, Uchiha Yoru, Chakra Level, Chunin, Chakra Attributes, Fire, LV3, Lightning, LV3, Gold Coins. 30,000. After separating from Shisui, Uchiha Yoru walked towards the village, secretly shaking his head and sighing as he looked at the scene in his mind that only he could see. His cheat system was a pure pay-to-win system, only recognizing gold. He had worked hard for so many years, only managing to accumulate enough gold coins last month, and he even waited specifically for the Nine-Tails Night to spend money to awaken his Sharingan. After all, you can't just awaken it randomly, The Nine-Tails Knight was reasonable and justified. 1 Tomo Sharingan. 500,000 gold coins. Looking at the 1 Tomo Sharingan he had exchanged, Uchiha Yoru immediately showed a pained expression. Damn it, his talent was too limited. He had been on the battlefield, he had experienced life and death, but this Sharingan just wouldn't let him awaken it. Fortunately, he was from the Uchiha clan, so naturally he didn't need to exchange for Uchiha bloodline. Not bad. The prerequisite for exchanging bloodlines is having the corresponding bloodline. With a bloodline, 1 Tomo costs 500,000 gold coins, 2 Tomo double that to 1 million, and 3 Tomo skyrocket to 10 million. The Meijekaiao Sharingan costs 100 million. The Meijekaiao Sharingan is beyond words, just thinking about it brings tears to my eyes. Seeing the exchange prices, Uchiha Yoru couldn't help but twitch. With a gold to silver ratio in the ninja world at 10:1, he'd need to earn at least 10 suns to get the Meijekaiao Sharingan. His current goal was to earn that small goal first. In front of a secluded courtyard, Kurona Iyuhi, dressed in a black ninja outfit, her long legs encased in fishnet stockings, her agate red eyes filled with a complex expression, saw Uchiha Yoru, who seemed to have been waiting for her. Yoru, I heard you've awakened your Sharingan. Congratulations, those who awaken the Sharingan are the true Uchiha elite, the difference between them and those who haven't is a world apart. Seeing Kurona's congratulatory message tinged with a faint sadness, Uchiha Yoru awkwardly scratched his head. Kurona, please accept my condolences. One was offering congratulations, the other offering condolences. Kurona had still sacrificed herself, even with him, the little butterfly, flapping his wings, nothing had changed in the end. By the way, Kurona, here are the shuriken techniques you needed. He felt no shame about giving away some techniques from the Uchiha clan. Other major clans had plenty of these anyway, and it wasn't exactly a top secret of the Uchiha clan. The Uchiha shuriken techniques were unparalleled in the ninja world, but it required the Sharingan. Without the Sharingan, they were merely excellent. Seeing that the other party had actually dared to steal the Uchiha clan's shuriken technique scroll, Kurona was stunned. She looked up at her classmate with a somewhat shy smile, a strange feeling rising within her. However, the next sentence from the other party completely destroyed that strange feeling, leaving only resentment. Kurona, you know this, I risk being punished by the clan for this, you understand. Uchiha Yoru made a money-demanding gesture with his thumb, middle, and index fingers, instantly making Kurona grit her teeth. How much do you want this time, greedy? That was the label all the classmates gave Uchiha Yoru. And a money-grubbing one at that, completely lacking the demeanor of a wealthy family. Seeing Kurona get down to business, Uchiha Yoru suddenly became interested. Kurona, although we're classmates, as the saying goes, even brothers should keep clear accounts. Back then for you, and this time, he rattled off his calculations, leaving Kurona speechless and gritting her teeth. However, his antics dispelled the faint sadness in the room. Shut up, Yoru, Kurona was exasperated. The man opposite her, despite his extremely handsome appearance, was a greedy swindler. Back in school, she was naive and had been fooled by him, resulting in him swindling a significant portion of her allowance over the years, claiming he was her shield. She was young and naive then, but she didn't need this man as a shield, especially after he'd swindled her out of her allowance for so many years. Annoyed, Kurona got up and went back inside. When she came out, she tossed a scroll into her hand. With a snap, Yoru looked at the scroll in his hand with suspicion. The scroll bore the character sword. My father compiled Konoha Ryu swordsmanship experience. I think that's enough for the fee, Kurona snorted coldly, glaring at him. Yoru immediately smiled, he'd gotten a great deal. Kurona Iyuhi, an elite jonin of Konoha, is famous for her genjutsu, but her swordsmanship, knife techniques, is also quite good, otherwise, she wouldn't always carry a long Japanese sword on her back. This time, she really got a great deal. Looking at the scroll she had obtained, Uchiha Yoru immediately smiled and put it into his weapon pouch, a sight that made Kurona chuckle. He truly lived up to his reputation as her money boyfriend. The two were more than friends but less than lovers, after all these years. Uchiha Yoru, however, had a glint in his eye and muttered to himself, no ninja is a fool. After all, ninjas excel at analysis, with some exceptions, like protagonists with overpowered aura abilities. Female ninjas are even rarer, and Kurona is a cool-headed type, not someone to be trifled with. This time, he had clearly gotten a huge advantage. Thinking of this, Uchiha Yoru feigned a serious expression. Kurenai, you know from the Nine Tails attack that the Uchiha clan is now in a precarious position. While this shield won't work anymore, you can use this incident to your advantage. If anyone investigates your contact with the Uchiha, then you, before Uchiha Yoru could finish speaking, Kurenai Yuhi sneered, just say I was tricked by you, you scumbag. You've been swindling my pocket money since the Ninja Academy, and you even stole my father's swordsmanship scroll. How about that? Seeing Kurenai Yuhi's quick response, Uchiha Yoru was taken aback for a moment, then smiled. Kurenai, it has to be you. But making me take such a huge blame will cost you extra. With a thud, a sofa cushion was thrown at him. Uchiha Yoru quickly caught it, and Kurenai Yuhi, enraged by his shamelessness, glared at him with her beautiful ruby eyes, her teeth clenched. Uchiha Yoru, Kurenai shouted, and Uchiha Yoru fled the house in a disheveled state, as if a heartless scumbag had been caught cheating on his feelings. Kurenai, oh dear, let's talk this out. Uchiha Yoru, having fled in a sorry state, hurriedly dodged, but seeing that Kurenai was no longer as lifeless as before, a slow smile appeared on his lips. Kurenai naturally saw the smile on his lips, and her lifeless heart was suddenly filled with anger. She glared at him irritably. Uchiha Yoru, I became a chunin a year earlier than you. Kurenai's information in the original work is clear. She became a jonin at age 9 and a chunin at age 13, which remains unchanged. However, the exact time she became a jonin is not explicitly stated, but it can be inferred from the conversations between the jonin leading the chunin exams in the original work. Kurenai Yuhi only became a jonin shortly before the start of the story, and now at 14 years old, a full 12 years have passed since the beginning of the story. This means it took her at least 12 years to become a jonin, around the age of 26. After all, ninjas excel at intelligence analysis. Having known each other for so many years, the two staged a dramatic breakup, almost like two scumbags. In this sensitive period, too much involvement with the Uchiha clan was unwise, especially since Kurenai, having lost her father's protection, was only a chunin. Although it was just a minor inconvenience, it was clear neither of them wanted to be entangled in it. Watching the departing figure, Kurenai sighed softly, you really are a heartless money-grubbing boyfriend. Back in the house, looking at the photo of her and her father, Kurenai smiled happily and murmured, Father, I won't let you down. I will definitely become an elite jonin of Konoha. At this moment, the sadness in Kurenai's eyes gradually transformed into a fighting spirit. She couldn't let her father down, she had to become a jonin daughter he could be proud of. During the new book release period, please read it, please give it a recommendation vote, I'm begging for everything. Chapter 4A Rank Ninjutsu, Chidori. Under a light drizzle, Uchiha Shisui was spotted in the distance as soon as he emerged, clearly having been waiting for some time. Uchiha Yoru, however, acted as if nothing had happened, casually shrugging as he approached and said, what matter requires the intervention of our genius Shisui? The two appeared in the woods. Shisui, unperturbed, smiled and slowly took a scroll from his weapon pouch, handing it to him. Brother Yoru, this is a ninjutsu bestowed upon you by the elders, along with the funds you need. Meet at the village gate at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. After reporting the mission details, Uchiha Yoru shook his head and sighed softly. He understood the Uchiha clan's urgency, but unfortunately, this gamble was destined to be a futile effort. After finishing their business, Uchiha Shisui's expression turned serious as he said in a deep voice, Brother Yoru, once you've dealt with your matter, at least for now, don't provoke her, or you'll hurt her. Shisui's meaning was clear. The Uchiha clan was currently in a precarious position, and associating with other civilian ninjas would only cause trouble and could even bring negative consequences to them. Hearing this, Uchiha Yoru gave Shisui a strange look, then teased, Shisui, you'll understand when you have a girlfriend. Good heavens. Hearing such shameless words, Uchiha Shisui was speechless, looking at Yoru, who was only a year older than him, and simply couldn't understand. The two of them returned to the Uchiha clan like fleas. Konoha had just experienced the Nine Tails attack and was in a state of disarray, with all the ninjas busy and overwhelmed. However, the Uchiha clan ninjas were almost entirely preparing for relocation. Back in their temporary quarters assigned by the clan, the Uchiha clan was affected by the Nine Tails night attack, especially the police department. It was precisely because of this that Konoha used it as an excuse to relocate the Uchiha clan. Opening the scroll, besides 2B rank ninjutsu, there were also Sharingan training, manipulation experience, and some precautions. After all, awakening the Sharingan is one thing, But training is still necessary, just like how even among those with 3 tomo, there are differences in eye power. Seeing the various methods for improving and training the Sharingan, Uchiha Yoru shook his head and smiled. Although this system was somewhat rigid, it had to be said that the service was quite comprehensive. After exchanging for a 1-tomo Sharingan, along with countless experienced techniques, not only did it allow his body to perfectly adapt, but it also brought him to the limit of a 1-tomo Sharingan. In other words, the system directly provided the peak, truly living up to its price. However, when he flipped to the last A-rank ninjutsu, his pupils instantly contracted. I didn't expect it to be this ninjutsu. Looking at the familiar ninjutsu, Uchiha Yoru shook his head and sighed. That's right. The Uchiha are undoubtedly the strongest clan in Konoha. For Kakashi to preserve his Sharingan, it's not just about his relationship with the Fourth Hokage, they also need a prestige project. They can't lower themselves just because of the Fourth Hokage's status, can they? That's not enough. So Kakashi used this ninjutsu, which was barely enough to get by. No wonder the Third Hokage and others didn't stop Kakashi from teaching Sasuke in the original story. So that's why, the A-rank ninjutsu, Chidori, is Kakashi's self-created signature ninjutsu. It's a ninjutsu that can be fully utilized when combined with the Sharingan. Not to mention the Uchiha clan, even within Konoha, lightning-style ninjutsu is quite rare. Therefore, this ninjutsu has been shelved for a long time. A tomo appeared in his eyes as he solemnly and relentlessly memorized all the information on the scroll. Activating the Sharingan wasn't for showing off. After all, what was the point of showing off when you're alone in a tent? Such a precious ninjutsu scroll from the Uchiha clan naturally contained sealing techniques. Only when viewed with the Sharingan would the correct content appear. While ordinary eyes would also see it, the content would be different, with crucial parts altered. Anyone who tried it would know the consequences. It would definitely end badly. The next morning, a large crowd had already gathered outside the Konoha gates. Teams of ninja assembled and then vanished like fleas. No. They should be called shadows. Brother Knight, let's go. We can talk on the way. When the Uchiha appeared, the passing Shinin and Chunin were relatively unfazed, but among the Jonin, there was a clear, unseen sense of exclusion. This time, the Uchiha clan was quite large, with 8 members including him. The leader was clearly the Uchiha genius, Shisui. As captain, Shisui personally led the way, creating some distance between himself and those behind him, and said in a low voice, Brother Yoru, we're going to the border near the land of the sea. Orochimaru-sama is there. Taking the scroll, Yoru squinted at its contents and nodded slightly. I see. This is the Uchiha signal, right? The Nine Tails attack on Konoha had caused heavy losses, even the Fourth Hokage had perished. The extent of the damage was unimaginable. Unrest had begun to spread along the borders, which explained why the Third Hokage had been able to regain power so easily. Only Hiruzen Sarutobi could stabilize the situation so quickly. After 3 days, their attitude towards the Uchiha was basically set: relocation, defense. This was an undeniable fact, and the Uchiha clan had its own countermeasures. That was a signal of goodwill, and the Hokage faction reciprocated. After all, if you asked me to relocate my clan's territory, I would have done so. The situation was turbulent, and the Uchiha needed to regain trust, while the village needed the Uchiha's strength. The first signal the Uchiha sent was to deploy their forces to the border regions for missions. After all, if a lack of trust led to all of the Uchiha's elite being hoarded in the village, Hiruzen Sarutobi probably wouldn't be able to sleep at night. In this critical period, both sides began to show goodwill. The Uchiha started sending their forces to protect Konoha, to prove they were also trying to regain trust. In the Uchiha's eyes, Konoha was also showing goodwill. If you're good, I'm good, then everyone is good. Shisui, this mission is to the border. Orochimaru-sama is truly amazing, holding the line at the front and almost simultaneously defending against both the Cloud Village of the Land of Lightning and the Mist Village of the Land of Water, Uchiha Yoru said with a smile, his eyes narrowed. Uchiha Shisui's expression was clearly good, probably because the relationship between his clan and village had at least stopped deteriorating, and the goodwill signals from both sides gave him hope, making him feel relieved. Shisui was obviously in a good mood, smiling and nodding to Uchiha Yoru, with Orochimaru-sama holding the line at the front and simultaneously defending against the Land of Lightning and the Land of Water. We Uchiha are going to support the front. With such a major incident in Konoha, the Fourth Hokage even dying, it would be strange if other villages didn't take advantage of the situation. After all, it can be inferred from the original story that although Konoha didn't experience a major war after the Nine Tails attack, localized small-scale conflicts and even clandestine probing continued. In the original work, Shisui came from the battlefield against a mist ninja, and the Hyuga clan incident occurred during the peace talks with the Cloud Ninja village of the Land of Lightning. These events suggest a power struggle between nations. I'm asking for all kinds of support for my new book. Chapter 5 Orochimaru, Commander-in-Chief of the Frontlines. On the golden beach, many colorful seashells glistened in the sunlight, lying there quietly. With his feet firmly planted on the soft sand, Uchiha Yoru smiled, his eyes narrowing at the beautiful seascape. They weren't far from the Land of the Sea, a place featured in the anime. He recalled that Orochimaru had a human experimentation base in the Land of the Sea, and it was here that Mitarashi Anko placed her cursed seal. Episode 169. No wonder Orochimaru set up his experimental base in the Land of the Sea. He was currently stationed here on the border. Brother Yoru, we've arrived. Orochimaru's camp is in the distance. As the leader of the Uchiha 8 Genius Group, Uchiha Shisui smiled upon seeing the camp in the distance. Watchtowers were clearly visible along the coast, and many more were hidden in the dense forest. The group headed towards the camp, naturally noticing numerous sentries along the way. However, Uchiha Shisui secretly communicated with these sentries using hand gestures and secret codes. Finally, the 8 of them entered the camp without hindrance. The camp seemed somewhat disorganized, but Uchiha Yoru was already used to it. After all, ninjas weren't an army, especially ninjas in this world who controlled ninjutsu. In fact, this kind of scattered deployment allowed each ninja to utilize their strengths more effectively. Brother Yoru, you come with me to report to Lord Orochimaru. The rest of you, prepare to set up camp. Yes, sir. On the battlefield, ninjas were tools for carrying out missions. The Uchiha ninjas responded in deep voices. However, Uchiha Yoru and the others were somewhat suspicious of their clan's genius, who addressed him as Big Brother, and some even harbored resentment. Uchiha Shisui is the pride of their clan. At only 13 years old, he was already a Jonin, only a year later than Kakashi. More importantly, Shisui had already reached the 3-tomo stage. Uchiha Yoru, who had only recently awakened his Sharingan and possessed only a 1-tomo Sharingan, received such an honor. It was impossible not to be suspicious. However, Uchiha Yoru and Uchiha Shisui followed the guiding ninja towards the center of the camp. Along the way, Uchiha Yoru observed the camp's layout and began to mutter to himself. Sure enough, no one was a fool. Reinforcements were being sent to the front lines. He had seen many new tents along the way, clearly indicating arrival within the last day or two, and some even today, ninjas drawn from other areas. Lord Orochimaru is inside. The guiding ninja led them to their destination, nodded respectfully, and then leaped away, disappearing in a black dot. Brother Yoru, let's go in. Although Uchiha Shisui's expression was calm, the excitement in his eyes was undeniable. After all, in his heart, this was the future 5th Hokage, and he had come carrying the mission of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Yoru secretly surveyed his surroundings. Sure enough, Orochimaru's name was fitting. The camp was set up in a dark place, truly befitting his nature. No one had reported it, or perhaps the ninja's senses were too sharp. The fact that no one had stopped them when they arrived proved Orochimaru was inside and had time to summon them. Even so, upon reaching the slightly larger tent, both Uchiha Yoru and Uchiha Shisui stopped, saying in unison, Uchiha reporting for duty. This wasn't about clan etiquette, but rather the customs of this world. Come in, a horse. Magnetic voice that sent shivers down one's spine rang out. Uchiha Shisui took a deep breath, clearly carrying a heavy responsibility as he entered, while Uchiha Yoru secretly thought, this voice will finally be heard in person today. Entering the tent, they found it indeed dark. Even the tent itself was somewhat dim. Inside the tent hung a map of the area. Orochimaru was speaking with a member of the Hyuga clan. Upon seeing the newcomer, he simply waved his hand dismissively, and Shisui and Yoru stood aside to wait. Hisashi, this time the Hyuga clan has a heavy burden to bear. But don't worry, the Uchiha's elite ninjas have also arrived. They can form a patrol team with you. Even before his betrayal, Orochimaru, though possessing a somber air, exuded a unique charm that inspired reassurance in his words and actions. Opposite him was Hyuga Hisashi, the younger brother of the Hyuga clan leader and the father of the future genius Neji. Hisashi respectfully nodded to Orochimaru, saying, Lord Orochimaru, rest assured, the Hyuga clan will not disappoint you. The Hyuga clan's Byakugan is considered the premier bloodline for reconnaissance in the ninja world, especially in war. Its ability to detect enemy movements early provides a significant advantage and prevents surprise attacks. After Hyuga Hisashi finished speaking, he glanced subtly at the two Uchiha clan youths who had entered. A glint of light flashed in the depths of his eyes, and he lowered his head respectfully, saying, "Lord Orochimaru, I went to assign tasks, go." Orochimaru waved for Hyuga Hisashi to leave, then turned to examine the two Uchiha clan members with interest. After a long while, he licked his lips and couldn't help but exclaim, 13-year-old Junin, truly a clan of geniuses. Uchiha Shisui, however, did not become excited upon hearing Orochimaru's praise. Instead, he respectfully held a scroll with both hands and bowed his head, saying, Uchiha Shisui, leading the vanguard of 8 Uchiha members, has come to report to Lord Orochimaru. Taking the scroll, Orochimaru glanced at its contents with interest, then a horse smile appeared on his face. 3 Tomo Junin, 3 Special Junin, and 4 Elite Chunin, all Uchiha who have awakened the Sharingan, and all young. Uchiha Shisui nodded respectfully. Further reinforcements will arrive. Orochimaru laughed, a strange glint in his pale golden snake eyes. This sight secretly alarmed Uchiha Yoru. The aura of the Sannin was incredibly strong, especially the oppressive force of their chakra. He could finally understand the pressure Hazuki Sujetsu felt when facing the second Hokage's chakra unleashed in the original story. Not bad at all. Is this an investment from your Uchiha clan? Orochimaru smiled with interest at the two youths before him. They hadn't yet suffered the effects of the Mangekyo Sharingan and weren't yet obsessed with it to that morbid degree. After Orochimaru spoke so bluntly, Uchiha Shisui was immediately embarrassed. It seemed too direct, and he didn't know how to respond. Perhaps the real Orochimaru was someone who never cared about the opinions of others. Please support. Chapter 6 for the Uchiha. I'm sorry, Elder. Orochimaru, still wearing the green vest uniform of a Konoha Junin, with long black hair, elongated golden pupils, purple eyeshadow extending to his nose, and pale skin, looked at the two Uchiha clan members before him with apparent interest. He licked his lips and said in his hoarse yet magnetic voice, I have received the Uchiha's kindness. Someone will make arrangements for you after you go down. Uchiha Yoru looked at Orochimaru. The other man never cared about the opinions of outsiders. If his human research could be explained as being for the sake of strength or as a hobby, then his ability to casually turn to a woman was truly remarkable. He had to admit that Orochimaru was incredibly magnanimous. Upon hearing this, Uchiha Shisui immediately smiled, seemingly pleased that the Uchiha's intentions had been perfectly fulfilled and his mission accomplished. He respectfully nodded and said, Thank you, Lord Orochimaru. As Shisui respectfully nodded and prepared to leave, he noticed Uchiha Yoru standing motionless beside him. Just as he was about to take Yoru with him, Yoru gave him a look, and Shisui, somewhat suspicious, left first. Now only Uchiha Yoru remained in the tent. Orochimaru, seemingly interested, let out a hoarse laugh, a laugh perhaps caused by years of swallowing snakes from his throat. Is there anything else, Yoru-kun? Orochimaru was undeniably extremely polite. While Uchiha Yoru knew the course of history, having lived in this world for so many years, he knew his current strength was merely that of a chunin, unable to change anything. Now, he could only strengthen himself first and, within his power, try to win back the minds of the two traitors from the Uchiha clan. My lord, Uchiha Yoru is acting on the orders of the elders. This statement directly revealed his stance. While Uchiha Shisui had represented the entire Uchiha clan's goodwill earlier, Yoru was now acting on the elders' orders. The village has suffered the Nine Tails attack, and the Third Hokage has returned to power to stabilize Konoha. Orochimaru-sama is the well-deserved fifth Hokage. As he said this, Uchiha Yoru respectfully sized up the former big boss before him. The man's wicked smile was always so composed, radiating a unique personal charisma. Orochimaru, meanwhile, was even more interested in observing the Uchiha Chunin before him, or perhaps he was more interested in hearing the purpose of this Uchiha elder's visit. After all, it was quite intriguing, wasn't it? Lord Orochimaru is at the peak of his life, yet he hinders those who seek him out on the shadows. If you were to become the fifth Hokage, those in the shadows would surely have no hope before their death. Moreover, the Sarutobi clan does not want the third Hokage to abdicate again, nor do the village's higher-ups. After saying this, Uchiha Yoru respectfully admired the legendary ninja Orochimaru before him. Orochimaru, Upon hearing this, was initially surprised, but then a smile appeared on his face, and he licked his lips, letting out his unique, hoarse laugh. Interesting, very interesting. I didn't expect Yoru-kun to be not only an Uchiha genius, but also a confidant of the elders. At 14 years old, a chunin, having just awakened his one-tomo Sharingan, although he was a genius, Orochimaru considered him a mediocre genius. Yet, this person had caught the eye of the Uchiha elders, immediately piquing Orochimaru's interest. A 14-year-old chunin was quite good, especially considering he had awakened a bloodline limit. His future was promising. Sarutobi Asuma became a chunin at age 12, Yuhi Kurenai at 13, and Anko at 12. Records, seeing that Orochimaru, one of the legendary Sannin, wasn't interested in the information he provided, but instead showed interest in him, Uchiha Yoru felt a chill run down his spine. Damn it, please don't let this happen. Because of this face, Uchiha Yoru hurriedly explained, not wanting to cause a misunderstanding. It would be too late if something serious happened. A face? Even though Orochimaru was a genius, he was still somewhat puzzled upon hearing this. Uchiha Yoru, however, feigned a friendly smile and nodded, saying, "It's because of Orochimaru-sama's disciple, Anko. I'm in the same class as Anko." Upon hearing this, Orochimaru's seemingly interested face froze. It wasn't that he wasn't smart enough, he simply hadn't grasped the meaning in time. His interest diminished by 3/10, replaced by a bored and even slightly disdainful laugh. The methods of the Konoha clans, after all, the clans were adept at such manipulations. Ninjas are all about deception, and naturally, a handsome appearance can be used to deceive some people, especially female ninjas. Seduction is not uncommon, in fact, quite a few. Some do it to complete missions, some for espionage, and others for political marriages. In short, it's all about profit. Seeing Orochimaru's seemingly lost interest, Uchiha Yoru secretly breathed a sigh of relief. As long as you lose interest in my body, that's fine. But he really can't lose interest in me. Although it's somewhat contradictory, he really needs some information to gain benefits for himself. He silently apologized to the elder in his heart. Lord Orochimaru, Uchiha Yoru's face turned solemn as he spoke, a single tomo Sharingan flashing in his eyes. His gaze swept around the surroundings. Orochimaru, seeing this, was once again intrigued, and chuckled hoarsely. Yoru-kun is truly a cautious man. Don't worry, there's no one here, not even my men. As a frontline commander, Orochimaru naturally had subordinates, especially since he was a strong contender for the Fourth Hokage title, and had a loyal following in the village, including many sensory ninjas. Uchiha Yoru secretly breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing Orochimaru's words. This time, he was about to reveal a major secret, requiring two things. First, that Orochimaru knew he was a trusted confidant of the Uchiha elders, and second, that the Uchiha clan's intelligence capabilities were at stake. Human experimentation. Uchiha Yoru uttered these four words and then fell silent, a heavy atmosphere hanging in the air. After a long while, Orochimaru's hoarse laughter echoed from inside the tent, tinged with an air of nonchalance, as if he had never cared about the panic of being discovered. Would release. The moment those two words were uttered, Orochimaru's pale golden pupils constricted sharply, a flash of killing intent crossing the air, instantly sending a chill down Uchiha Yoru's spine, his hair standing on end. Hell, it seems the Uchiha behind Yoru-kun knows quite a lot. At this moment, Orochimaru narrowed his eyes, secretly analyzing the situation. Impossible. Human experiments might be difficult to escape the eyes of those with ulterior motives, but only Danzo and he, along with some root members, knew about wood release in Konoha. He had never considered root. After all, Danzo's methods were not to be underestimated. Given Danzo's hatred of the Uchiha, he would never reveal it. Therefore, there was only one possibility. The Uchiha's clandestine intelligence capabilities far exceeded his imagination. A smile appeared on his face, and his interest was piqued. Guess what benefits you'll offer to snake and catch his eye? Chapter 7 Trading Armor for Orochimaru. Inside the Konoha frontline camp, Orochimaru, his crimson tongue lolling out, stared at his opponent with an extremely sinister gaze, his eyes gleaming with excitement. It seemed to say, "This isn't enough. Tell me your Uchiha information, let me see what it is." As for a threat? How, he'd never even considered it. Threaten a Sannin? Wasn't he afraid Orochimaru would turn on him and unite with Danzo and the entire Konoha against the Uchiha? Nobody was a fool. Seeing Orochimaru's intrigue, Uchiha Yoru secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, he knew the course of the world and had information about the future. He wasn't worried about failing to deceive his opponent. According to reliable intelligence, one of Orochimaru's wood-release test subjects survived and even awakened a bloodline limit. He is currently with Root, codenamed Armor. After saying this, Uchiha Yoru secretly felt smug. He didn't believe that Orochimaru, who had studied all sorts of Konoha's materials, wouldn't be shocked to learn that wood release had reappeared in the world, and had even slipped through his fingers. Exchanging information he didn't need for benefit for personal gain was a truly worthwhile deal. As for Yamato, who revealed the future of wood-release ninjas, what did that have to do with him? Knowing the future, he would naturally maximize his own interests. Sure enough, when Orochimaru heard that one of his test subjects had survived and even awakened wood release, his expression changed, but he quickly suppressed his excitement and looked up at the Uchiha clansmen before him with interest. Hell, it seems the Uchiha's intelligence isn't as rudimentary as I imagined. They even managed to gather information on Root. Orochimaru was genuinely shocked. Root ninjas were almost all bound by the cursed tongue seal. Root was undoubtedly one of the best at maintaining secrecy in the ninja world. Yet these Uchiha had managed to infiltrate Root. It wasn't that the Uchiha lacked the ability. As Konoha's most powerful clan, their strength was undeniable, but this was intelligence, not strength. Just as Uchiha Yoru had predicted, Orochimaru attributed everything to the Uchiha clan. After all, let alone a mere one-tomo chunin, even a three-tomo elite jonin would be out of the question. Night-kun, you're quite impressive. Others will only know that you used your appearance to approach Enko and achieve your goal, but more people will notice the other elite Uchiha team. They don't know that Night-kun is the Uchiha's confidant. Orochimaru's face was full of smiles. He had already figured everything out. Night-kun was a confidant of the Uchiha clan. Although his strength wasn't great, that was precisely why he could better transmit intelligence. On the surface, he used his appearance to approach his disciple Anko to achieve some goal, but in reality, he was directly communicating with her. A feint, a covert maneuver. The Uchiha were truly adept at this, even surprising Orochimaru. He had truly underestimated the Uchiha. Then, Night-kun, let's form a team with Anko tomorrow. It'll be perfect for you to be teammates. With a hoarse smile, Orochimaru decided to first get closer to the Uchiha clan and see what unexpected information they had, what surprises they could offer. Upon hearing Orochimaru's arrangements, Uchiha Yoru immediately revealed a professional smile, secretly pleased that his goal had finally been achieved. If he could quickly obtain the 1 million promised by the elder, he would be one step closer to his plan. Thank you, Lord Orochimaru. This information was discovered unintentionally. It seems even the Third Hokage was unaware of this, and this information was investigated under orders secretly given by the Fourth Hokage. Uchiha Yoru nodded gratefully, immediately shifting the blame. Since the Fourth Hokage was in the stomach of the Shinigami, Orochimaru couldn't possibly know. In short, it had nothing to do with him. He was merely a messenger, and Orochimaru had to ensure the safety of his line. Orochimaru, upon hearing this, suddenly understood. Oh, I see, he thought, no wonder. That explains everything. Although the Fourth Hokage, Namake's Minato, had only been Hokage for a year, he was still a Hokage and naturally involved in power struggles. This was also the first time in Konoha's, and indeed in the history of the Hidden Leaf Village, that two Hokage existed simultaneously. Usually, the former dies in battle before the latter succeeds. This was unprecedented. This created a problem. The Third Hokage was still alive, not dead, so naturally he needed to retain some power, which led to the establishment of his directly controlled Anbu. In the anime, during the Nine-Tails Night, someone clearly exclaimed, "It's the Third Hokage's Anbu." Therefore, it can be inferred that the Fourth Hokage also had his own Anbu. This meant Minato needed to cultivate his own people, but cultivation was too slow. A faster method was to win them over. The Uchiha clan, being disliked, was the perfect target. Thinking of this, Orochimaru couldn't help but sigh. No wonder Minato was so close to Fugaku, and even the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki and Mikado Uchiha were so close. The young boy had grown into a capable politician. He had underestimated him. As the Fourth Hokage, Minato Namake's was at the center of power, naturally making it easier for him to gather intelligence, especially with his elusive Flying Thunder God technique. Thinking of this, Orochimaru narrowed his eyes. Minato had discovered the existence of wood-released ninjas, but lacked the resources to investigate further, making the Uchiha clan the perfect candidate. A logical and reasonable choice. If Uchiha Yoru knew Orochimaru's deduction, he would probably give him a resounding thumbs up. Yes. That's exactly what you're thinking. Lord Orochimaru, the Uchiha clan will do everything in our power to help you become the 5th Hokage. At this moment, Uchiha Yoru expressed his loyalty with fervent respect, while Orochimaru let out his characteristic hoarse laugh. Knight Lord, Anko is my student, and this team is personally led by me. Upon hearing this, Uchiha Knight immediately showed excitement, bowing deeply at a 90-degree angle and shouting, Orochimaru-sensei, forget about saving face, and don't worry about Orochimaru's future defection. Immediate interests are paramount. Besides, Orochimaru defected because of human experimentation. If a purge were to occur, countless ninjas who supported him would be involved. The law doesn't punish the masses. Furthermore, he has the Uchiha clan behind him, and according to his calculations, Orochimaru won't defect for at least 2 years. Since he can't stop him, then he'll profit from it. Stop him? Orochimaru isn't interested in the Uchiha now because he hasn't yet suffered the beating of the main Decay Sharingan. If he truly becomes Hokage, tisk, the Uchiha might not be wiped out, but they'll definitely become frequent visitors to Orochimaru's laboratories. Therefore, he wouldn't stop it. Instead, he would seek enormous profits from it. Otherwise, when would he ever gather enough gold coins to buy the main Decay Sharingan? Orochimaru's defection timeline is easier to predict. Uchiha Yoru sneered. The 4th Hokage had just died, and the borders were in turmoil. Anyone with eyes could see that once the borders stabilized, it would be time to elect the 5th Hokage. And the border instability would likely last at least a year and a half. Furthermore, Orochimaru's defection was probably not solely Danzo's fault, it was politically motivated. As long as Danzo wanted to remain Hokage, he wouldn't want a young man like Orochimaru to take power. Another possibility is the 3rd Hokage's political interest group. Even if Sarutobi didn't want this, the Sarutobi clan and the Ino Shikacho trio, driven by self-interest, would silently accept it. Please support. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8 Red Bean, you still underestimate your own worth. On the border of Konoha, surrounded by towering trees, a young girl dressed in a fishnet outfit stood with her short, deep purple hair tied up in a small flower at the back of her head. Despite being only 12 years old, she toyed with a kunai in her hand, a faint, almost bloodthirsty smile playing on her lips. How, Yoru, I didn't expect you to become Orochimaru's student too. Looks like you're not just all that pretty face. The still childish Mitarashi Anko deliberately imitated Orochimaru, feigning a bloodthirsty expression, especially when she stuck out her cute tongue to lick the kunai in a threatening manner, which made Uchiha Yoru smile. Anko, is your tongue hot? Uchiha Yoru's words instantly shattered the hard-won atmosphere. Anko, with her playful and impulsive nature, immediately looked suspicious and asked, tongue hot? What do you mean? Seeing Anko's innocent and confused expression, Uchiha Yoru narrowed his eyes, pointed to his mouth, and whispered, my mouth is rather cold, so perhaps you could come to me to cool it down. It's better than kunai. After the teasing remark, Anko was first taken aback, then a smile appeared on her face. However, this time the smile carried a hint of danger, and it wasn't a deliberate pretense. How, Knight, you're right. Maybe next time I can let you cool me down in front of kunai, Anko said with a dangerous smile, then immediately switched to another face, coldly sneering, Orochimaru-sensei may have put me on your team, but I won't protect you during missions. Mitarashi Anko, a student of Orochimaru, one of the legendary Sannin, graduated from school at 10 and became a Chunin at 12, making her a true prodigy. Naturally, she looked down on Uchiha Knight, who only became a Chunin at 14. How, Anko, don't be so heartless. At this moment, Mitarashi Anko squinted at Uchiha Knight, the most outstanding-looking classmate in their school days and also her best friend's boyfriend. She secretly plotted in her heart. Uchiha Knight was the kind of person who wouldn't act without a clear objective. She knew perfectly well how kunai had managed to win him over. Uchiha Yoru, stop trying to bluff. You went to great lengths to get to the front lines and even became Orochimaru's student. What exactly are you up to? Mitarashi Anko gave him a scrutinizing look. Although her personality was somewhat impulsive, she still had the wariness expected of a ninja. Seeing Anko's expression, Uchiha Yoru shrugged and shook his head with a helpless expression. Anko, you're really cold-blooded. Don't you miss your old classmate at all, me, heartless? I wonder who was bribed by Anko's gold necklace and sold their body back then, holy crap. Hearing Anko drop this bombshell, Uchiha Yoru's eyes widened. He spread his hands in annoyance and said, Anko, for the sake of our old classmate relationship, I'll give you a chance to make a fortune, this time 100,000. He made a 10 sign with his 2 index fingers and licked his lips with a smug look, as if to say, look at me, pretty generous, huh? Now the third Hokage has regained power in the village, but everyone knows that once the unrest is quelled, the 5th Hokage will be elected sooner or later, and this 5th Hokage, Uchiha Yoru stopped speaking here, only giving Anko a knowing look. Anko's mind immediately started racing. You, Uchiha Yoru. You're approaching Orochimaru-sensei on the orders of the Uchiha clan. Facing Anko's fiercely protective gaze, Uchiha Yoru shook his head irritably. You're wrong. I'm an apprentice ordered to approach Orochimaru, you know what I mean. He raised an eyebrow at the last 3 words, and Anko, standing beside him, revealed an angry expression, slamming her kunai into the wooden stake beneath her. 100,000. You think you can complete the deal with just 100,000? You're Kirnai's boyfriend, and Kirnai is my dearest and most beloved best friend. No way. Seeing Kirnai's resolute and disdainful gaze, Uchiha Yoru sneered. Kirnai, don't talk nonsense. What do you mean, Kirnai's boyfriend? You need to add X before that, ex-boyfriend? Kirnai was stunned. Her extortion plan had fallen through? However, a thought flashed through her mind, and a smile slowly appeared on her lips. Your money boyfriend, huh? Looks like you're not so bad after all. Knowing that the Uchiha's identity is sensitive these days, and even knowing to break up with Kirnai, in this ninja world, precociousness is normal, especially since they've been on the battlefield for years. Those without brains are long gone, lying in the cold earth. As for the protagonist, that's completely out of the question. Putting her kunai into her weapon pouch, Materashi Kirnai walked over, looking at him with an arrogant expression. 300,000. I'll pretend to let you almost succeed, and then we'll split the profits after you complete the clan's mission. Good heavens. Seeing Materashi Anko's outrageous demands, Uchiha Yoru's eyes widened, and he refused without hesitation. Impossible. The clan only gave me 300,000 ryo after this mission. So I've worked so hard and haven't gotten a single penny. Seeing Uchiha Yoru's resolute refusal, Anko's lips slowly curled into a sly smile. She had finally figured out his bottom line. So it's 300,000? Then I'll take 200,000, you take 100,000. One word, take it or leave it. At this moment, Materashi Anko displayed an arrogant expression, as if saying, take it or leave it. If you don't, you won't get a single penny. 150,000. We'll split it, HMPH. Enough talk, or you won't get a single penny. Fine. Finally, while Uchiha Yoru feigned pain, Materashi Anko revealed a victorious smile. However, despite her annoyed and troubled expression, Uchiha Yoru secretly thought to herself, girl, you're not bad, but you underestimate your current worth. Just your status as Orochimaru's teacher is enough to double that. Tisk tisk, you still have the mindset of a ninja tool, each harboring their own secrets. One smiled outwardly, the other inwardly. Anko would get 200,000 without doing anything, while Uchiha Yoru could directly pocket 1 million from the clan. Tisk tisk, the 200,000 provided by the clan would be enough. At this time, Anko was only a chunin, and with the low rewards for missions during wartime, she was naturally a little short on cash. As for Orochimaru, not to mention, research funding is a money-burning machine. To say that Orochimaru doesn't worry about funds is nonsense. After all, in the original story, even the Akatsuki members once bowed down to becoming mercenaries to raise funds. Regarding update issues, a serious explanation is needed. Waiting for recommendations. The first round of recommendations is here. I'll be posting twice a day from now on. Please support me. Chapter 9 Exploiting Freebies. At the border of the Land of Fire. John and Shisui, this is simply not enough. You know, Anko is not only a beautiful girl, but she's also Orochimaru's student. I had to go through a lot of trouble to even get close to her and barely managed to join her team. Inside the Uchiha tent, Uchiha Yoru entered looking exhausted and began complaining. Uchiha Shisui, upon hearing this, looked astonished. Yoruni. You mean you've already teamed up with Anko? Uchiha Shisui's eyes widened. How long had it been? Less than half a day. They'd only been at the front lines for less than half a day, and the enemy had already completed half the mission. Looking at Uchiha Yoru's handsome face, Uchiha Shisui thought to himself, the elder was right. His talent in this area is far inferior to Yoru's. Seeing Uchiha Shisui's shocked expression, Uchiha Yoru secretly curled his lip. Shock alone is nothing. Doesn't chasing girls cost money? Of course it costs money, and a huge amount at that, otherwise how could he live up to his status as a disciple of Orochimaru, one of the legendary Sannin? He needed to get Shisui to send a message to the clan, to make them understand that even ordinary dating requires expenses, let alone Enko, who is like a rich young lady, not someone to be easily won over. Hey, Shisui, this time I really swallowed my pride to get Enko to agree, and, at this moment, Uchiha Yoru looked hesitant, prompting Uchiha Shisui to nod solemnly and say, Brother Yoru, there are no outsiders here, just tell me what the difficulties are. Having been waiting for those words, Uchiha Yoru then feigned a troubled expression, pretending to have made a difficult decision, and finally let out a deep sigh. Shisui, you don't know this, but Kurani and Enko were best friends back in school. You know, I make a living off my looks. Now I've broken up with Kurani, and as for Enko, you know, with a troubled expression, Uchiha Shisui suddenly nodded solemnly. He understood. How could he not understand? After all, they were in school together. How could he not have heard of Uchiha Yoru's name? In school, if you asked who was the genius, it would definitely be Hatake Kakashi, but if you asked who was the most handsome and popular with women, it would definitely be Uchiha Yoru. Naturally, Uchiha Shisui secretly imagined a melodramatic scenario. Kurani and he, his senior, would become a couple, while his best friend, Mitarashi Enko, could only silently offer her blessings. But now, however, she had a chance. Looking at Uchiha Shisui's determined expression after imagining this, her eyes revealed a hint of sympathy, as if to say, I truly admire your sacrifice for the clan. However, Uchiha Yoru cursed inwardly, Shisui, you're such a blockhead. No wonder you were fooled into thinking you're brain dead. Don't you even know how to ask for funding? Shisui, Yoru said, Enko is my childhood friend. I've explained the clan's current predicament to you, and Enko is willing to speak to Lord Orochimaru to see if I can become his student. Upon hearing this, Uchiha Shisui was immediately moved. This was a crucial factor concerning the clan's rise and fall. If Yoru truly became Lord Orochimaru's student, the Uchiha clan would once again establish a trusting relationship with the Hokage lineage. After all, Orochimaru was the undisputed future 5th Hokage. In this world, aside from father and son, the most trustworthy relationships among ninjas are teammates, teacher and student, and master and apprentice. At this moment, in Uchiha Shisui's eyes, it was obvious that Mitarashi Enko wanted to help Uchiha Yoru become Orochimaru's student, essentially establishing a mentor-student relationship, only lacking the bond of a master-disciple or father-son relationship. A master-disciple relationship was like that of the Third Hokage and the legendary Sannin. In this era, the bond between master and disciple was in no way inferior to that between father and son. Brother Yoru, are you saying Enko is willing to let Lord Orochimaru become your mentor? Uchiha Shisui's expression immediately lit up with excitement. If this relationship could be confirmed, it would be like the 4th Hokage and Kakashi. The latter's entry into the Anbu is a testament to his abilities. Then, the Uchiha clan would once again gain the Hokage's trust. Uchiha Yoru sighed helplessly, Shisui, I think you need to contact the clan. Enko has already gone to see Orochimaru-sama, and she even patted her chest, saying it's almost a sure thing, but, he then added with a wry smile, funding. I need a lot of funding. You know, Enko is Orochimaru-sama's student, she has no shortage of ninjutsu or secret techniques. Whether I can advance further to become Orochimaru-sama's student is uncertain, but Enko absolutely cannot be abandoned. Enko is different from other female ninjas, so I can only rely on the clan's resources now. Uchiha Yoru's meaning was simple, Enko is now a wealthy young lady, lacking nothing. Right now, she's only helping me because of our time together at school. But as time goes on, he'll lack everything, and she'll lack nothing. Eventually, that feeling will fade, and how can a wealthy young lady be interested in a poor boy? In short, the clan needs to provide me with all sorts of conveniences and transform me into a rich young master. Would that make us a perfect match, like a golden couple? This way, there wouldn't be any drama of a rich young lady looking down on someone. Uchiha Shisui also showed a look of sudden realization. Although he had never had a girlfriend, he understood this principle. Only when the distance between the two was reduced could they communicate better. Don't worry, Brother Knight, I'll send a message to the clan right away. Don't worry, Uchiha Shisui nodded firmly. Although he knew that Uchiha Knight had his own selfish motives, who in the world doesn't have selfish motives? This person uses his looks to complete the mission, obtain the necessary items for the mission, and satisfy a little bit of his own desires. Is he wrong? No. Seeing Uchiha Shisui's attitude, Uchiha Knight immediately showed a look of shame and sighed, but secretly he was delighted. It seemed that he had to hurry. Before Orochimaru defected, he had to frantically fleece the clan. Anyway, if he didn't fleece the clan, it would just benefit Konoha after the clan was wiped out. It was better to turn this fleecing into his own strength. From the moment his clan assigned him this mission, he began to scheme, maximizing his profits and figuring out how to strengthen himself as quickly as possible. Paying to win was the only viable option, but with the meager rewards from missions, it was like a snail's pace, terrible. The only way was to exploit the clan's resources to strengthen himself quickly. Then, when Orochimaru defected, his strength would be greater. At least attracting the clan's attention. This would allow him to gain more benefits, both in terms of missions and within the clan. Uchiha Yoru pondered deeply. He needed to exploit the clan, but it wasn't enough. After all, Orochimaru's defection was only a matter of 2 years. Therefore, he needed a second path, a path that would allow him to exploit the clan long-term, intelligence. Selling all kinds of information for huge profits. Thinking of this, Uchiha Yoru smiled. The current turmoil in Konoha provided the perfect source of intelligence, and he was on the front lines. Please continue reading. Chapter 10. One piece of information sold to 3 different companies. The Land of Lightning. Lord Raikage, this intelligence report is rather unusual. Sitting in the Raikage building, working, was the 4th Raikage, who had succeeded to the throne after his father's death in the Third Shinobi World War. He suppressed his impatience as he looked at the intelligence report in his hand, a serious expression immediately appearing on his face. It's certainly not right, but we can't underestimate it. Have the intelligence department test it out first, to see if it's true. If it is, what's a little money? The Raikage wasn't careless about the intelligence report handed to him, but he wasn't overly concerned either. After all, there were bound to be a few traitors like this every year. Every country has spies, and there are also traitors. They betray their own village's interests for high rewards. Some are after ninjutsu, some are after revenge, and some are simply cowards who have been caught by their own spies. In short, the ninja world has never lacked traitors, they've always existed. However, this traitor seems to be of unusual status, possessing knowledge of information about Konoha's borders. Keep a close eye on this line, see if this traitor is real or fake. The 4th Raikage spoke in a low, unhurried voice. The ninja who came to report nodded respectfully. Yes, Raikage-sama, traitors like this could also be fake. They would initially pass on some true information to gain trust, then during crucial mission intelligence transmissions, they would use a 9/10 truth and 1/10 falsehood. This final falsehood could set a trap and eliminate many of their elite ninjas. This was a tactic that all nations were adept at. Even knowing the possibility of falsehoods, the ninjas of various nations still enjoyed it. Because they all had their own specialized departments to analyze and verify the authenticity of intelligence. Land of Earth. Iwagakure, in the Tsuchikage's office. Anoki looked at a piece of intelligence that had been passed to him, skimming through it quickly. The experienced Kage remained unmoved, simply placing the intelligence on the table. Have someone keep a close eye on this intelligence, and verify its authenticity. Yes, sir, if it's true, even sending more money and valuables is acceptable, as long as the intelligence is accurate. The experienced Anoki was already used to such traitors and didn't pay much attention to this particular intelligence. Hidden Mist Village, Land of Water. In a dark room, Sujetsu Hazuki looked at the intelligence in his hand, a sinister smile spreading across his face. How, so it's just a little bug. I hope your intelligence is true, otherwise I wouldn't mind slaughtering a few Konoha ninjas to vent my anger. Border of the Land of Fire. Uchiha Yoru returned to his tent with a relaxed expression, looking at the activity funds Shisui had just delivered, a smile spreading across his face. Sure enough, fleecing is the fastest way to get money. The Uchiha clan truly deserves to be called the most powerful clan in Konoha. Don't let their arrogance fool you, they're incredibly generous to their own people. Not only did he receive the $1 million mission reward, But his clan also specially sent him a considerable amount of funds. After exchanging all the money, a pleasant, crisp sound rang in his mind: gold coins. 280,000. Seeing this number, Uchiha Yoru smiled. Not bad. Looks like I still need to work harder. If I could become Orochimaru's disciple, I'm afraid I'd get even more resources. The $1 million mission reward came the next day when he openly encountered Orochimaru in the camp and addressed him as teacher. Immediately, the Uchiha ninja relayed this shocking news back, naturally completing the mission, and it was unexpectedly good. Now, his clan had even given him another mission, to do everything in his power to become Orochimaru's disciple, one of the 3 legendary Sannin. All the elite members of the Uchiha clan on the front lines would fully assist him. With a broad smile, Uchiha Yoru began forming hand seals, boar dog rooster monkey sheep. Summoning jutsu. A puff of white smoke flashed, and a gray eagle appeared on his shoulder, the summoning beast he had purchased for 30,000 gold coins. Eagles possess no special abilities, could not even speak human language, and their intelligence is only slightly superior to that of ordinary beasts. It is precisely because of this that he chose them. Their lack of intelligence means that even if captured by ninjas, jinjutsu or memory detecting techniques will be unable to extract clear memories, simply because they are fundamentally incompatible. However, this makes them an excellent means of transmitting information. At this moment, the gray eagle on his shoulder slowly opened its beak and spat out 3 scrolls. The gray eagle then dissipated in white smoke, and Uchiha Yoru rubbed his hands together as he opened the scrolls. Upon seeing the finger-thick gold bars, a satisfied smile appeared on his face. Recharge, gold coins. 330,000, tisk, murder and arson bring wealth. The ancestor was right indeed. Seeing his gold coin balance instantly surge to 300,000, Uchiha Yoru revealed a look of excitement mixed with frustration. Damn it, why couldn't his talent be better? If only his talent were better, he could have graduated earlier and made a fortune during the Third Shinobi World War. A wasted effort. After years of hard work since graduation, he had only earned 500,000 gold coins. This included money distributed by his clan, as well as his parents' inheritance and property. Knowing they would be relocating after the Nine Tails Nightfall, he naturally sold his property in the Golden Zone as soon as possible to scrape together the 500,000 gold coins. Just preliminary information has already sold for 50,000 gold coins. If I could sell more information, especially important information, thinking of this, Uchiha Yoru's expression became excited, almost as if he wanted to shout it out. As for whether there was any shame in selling Konoha's information for money, he only had one word at this moment: nonsense. The Uchiha clan was already heading towards extinction, and he was saving the clan. In fact, if the information he sold was large enough and significant enough to ignite border war, then he could truly save the clan. Once war broke out, even if it was just localized border conflicts, Konoha would be kept on the fringes of the war, and even if they wanted to take action against the Uchiha, they would be powerless. How could this be called selling information? He was clearly saving his clan and the decaying Leaf Village. 330,000 gold coins. I have enough ninjutsu, jinjutsu, and even taijutsu. I don't even have enough bloodline limits to upgrade, so the only thing I can do now is improve my abilities as quickly as possible. At this moment, Uchiha Yoru narrowed his eyes. This was probably the last peaceful time for Leaf Village. Once Orochimaru defected, Leaf Village's borders would be unstable, and this localized border conflict could last for years. In the original story, the Land of Lightning came to Leaf Village to sign a peace treaty, which proved that the two sides had been fighting on the border for countless years. Also, Uchiha Shisui returned after ending the war with a mist ninja, and only then did Leaf Village truly stabilize. The Nine Tails attack and the Fourth Hokage's death were the fuse. The atmosphere on the border began to tense. Even he now sensed that some small ninja villages wanted to instigate a war between major powers for their own profit. Orochimaru's defection was likely just the beginning of a localized war. If it weren't for the immense losses suffered by all nations in World War II, it certainly wouldn't have been a localized conflict at this point. Time to exchange for some items. Starting today, I'll update with 4,000 words daily. Please support me. Chapter 11, Increase Strength. For Konoha. Chakra Attribute, Lightning, LV3, upgraded, costing 100,000 gold coins. Successfully promoted Lightning Attribute Chakra to LV4, Chidori A rank Ninjutsu, Accelerated training experience purchase, costing 120,000 gold coins to master the A-rank ninjutsu Chidori. Various experiences of using Chidori kept replaying in his mind, as if he had completely mastered it. At the same time, the chakra within his body felt different. At this moment, Uchiha Yoru knew that he had successfully mastered the Chidori ninjutsu, and even his chakra attribute had been upgraded. Fortunately, he possessed the Chidori ninjutsu, so he only needed to purchase experience packs to achieve mastery. Even so, it still cost him a full 120,000 gold coins to completely master this ninjutsu. Now, he only had 110,000 gold coins left in his account. Uchiha Yoru narrowed his eyes and muttered, Orochimaru is still on his honeymoon with Danzo. We can't focus on the Sharingan right now, since Danzo looks down on Sharingan below the 3-tomo level. Right now, he needs to get Orochimaru's attention, so this is the only way. All remaining balance exchanged for a swordsmanship, taijutsu, experience pack, 110,000 gold coins consumed, swordsmanship, taijutsu, upgraded to LV4, experience packs, as the name suggests, are for allowing the host to directly master a certain skill or upgrade a skill to a higher level after spending money. These levels correspond to Strength, LV1, Ninja Academy Student, LV2, Sharingan, LV3, Chunin, LV4, Special Jonin, LV5, Jonin, LV6, Elite Jonin, LV7, Cage Level, LV8, Super Cage, LV9, 6 Paths Level, LV10, Otsutsuki. At this moment, Uchiha Yoru felt the changes in his body and couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. As expected, this is only an improvement in experience and skills. The experience pack doesn't directly improve physical attributes. For example, swordsmanship and taijutsu are linked, but after his advancement, he only had skills and experience. His body still needed training to keep up. It's like in the original story, Sasuke could see through Rock Lee's movements after awakening his Sharingan, but his body still couldn't keep up. He had worked very hard. Before this, his swordsmanship and chakra attribute proficiency were at the Chunin level. After directly investing in the experience, both of these directly improved to the special Jonin level, saving him at least a year or two of training. More importantly, he also mastered an A-rank ninjutsu. Combined with the 1-tomo Sharingan he awakened on the Night of the Nine Tails, his overall strength was enough to be considered an elite Chunin. Every ninja has their own style of strength, and most people develop their own fighting style as they progress. Uchiha Yoru smiled confidently. Why bother with all that effort? He could just follow others' paths and let them follow his. For example, his initial plan was to follow Uchiha Sasuke's path, Snake Team Sasuke, which was perfect, and most importantly, it saved money. His future development path was also perfect. The Chidori lineage's ninjutsu combined offense and defense, and more importantly, it was cost-effective. As for being cool, who wouldn't love being cool while maintaining strength? Most importantly, he could use this to build reputation, gaining sufficient prestige within the clan. He was currently in Orochimaru's team, which was perfect, a perfect replication of Uchiha Sasuke's early fighting style. He could even extract some benefits from the clan later. As for bearing the Orochimaru lineage mark, was Orochimaru's mark inferior to the Uchiha clans? At least before Orochimaru's defection, having the Orochimaru lineage mark on him would actually bring him the greatest benefit. As for the future, so he needed to maximize his gains during this time, fleece everyone he could, and then strengthen himself. Knight, let's go. Orochimaru-sensei has a mission. Anko's voice came from outside the tent, and Uchiha Knight, who had already heard the footsteps, smiled. Anko's here. Uchiha Knight emerged with a sunny smile on his handsome face, while Materashi Anko wore a haughty expression. The two of them headed towards Orochimaru's tent together, a scene clearly meant for the others. Sure enough, the other ninjas muttered to themselves, the Uchiha clan is so despicable. They're using their looks to seduce Orochimaru's disciple for their own gain. The elite young ninjas of the Uchiha clan look somewhat embarrassed. How could they not see through such an obvious scheme? Many of them secretly rejoiced that they weren't the ones selling their bodies. Even Uchiha Shisui secretly watched the two departing figures, sighing inwardly, Brother Knight, you've worked hard. The clan will not forget you. For the mission, for the clan, to sell one's emotions and even one's body, this was something worthy of respect. Knight, look at the reputation of your Uchiha clan, it's not good at all. Anko teased along the way, but Uchiha Knight shrugged indifferently and laughed. There's nothing I can do, It's all for the village. Indeed, if the Uchiha clan hadn't worked so hard to complete the mission, how could they have captured these spies? How would he have received information from spies in the land of lightning, the land of earth, and the land of water? As for the land of wind, he could only sigh. He also wanted to sell the information to the land of wind, but unfortunately, there was no channel for spies from the land of wind to pass on intelligence, otherwise, he would have sold it long ago. And so many small countries. Thinking of this, Uchiha Knight's face lit up with excited fighting spirit. The revolution was not yet complete, comrades still needed to work hard. He was determined to make it big, to become stronger. Of the 5 great nations besides Konoha, and the various smaller countries, he must become the largest intelligence provider. He will dedicate his remaining energy to making Konoha stronger. Everything is for the village. At the border of the land of fire, within the endless forest, it was as if one had stepped into ancient times. An average person's height on a tree trunk looked like the size of a cat. Shadows darted through the forest. These shadows flashed by, incredibly agile in the ancient forest. Yet, within the dark, dense thicket, Anko and Uchiha Yoru watched the passing figures with grave expressions. Yoru, these are the spies from the intelligence. At this moment, Uchiha Yoru's eyes were red, and Otomo spun beneath them. With his powerful vision, he clearly saw the dark figures flashing past. He said in a deep voice, "A squad, 1 leader, 3 subordinates, 4 people in total. The leader is about 25 years old and carries a ninja sword. The other 3 are all men, around 12 or 13 years old." Uchiha Yoru calmly reported the intelligence he had gathered. Mitarashi Anko, standing beside him, didn't find anything unusual. Usually, ninjas would act on their whims a little, as a way of venting their frustrations, but when carrying out a mission, especially when preparing for battle, no one would joke around at this time. Just then, a loud boom came from afar, followed by a scream. The leading ninja immediately raised his hand in alarm and anger to stop the people behind him from advancing, shouting, "Trap! Retreat!" However, at that moment, 2 dark figures flashed from the woods behind them, directly blocking the retreating ninja's escape route. 4 ninjas were present. One of them, clearly a young ninja, had already been eliminated by the explosive tag trap. The remaining 2 young ninjas looked grave, but the leader's eyes widened in terror upon seeing the newcomer. He trembled and cried out, "Oh Maki! Orochimaru!" Swish! Orochimaru's sinister face slowly emerged from the shadows of the tree trunk, a mocking smile playing on his lips like a cat toying with mice. He licked his lips and chuckled in his uniquely hoarse voice, "Head, looks like there are few little mice, Orochimaru." The leader's trembling voice uttering this name caused the other 2 ninjas to gasp in shock. Orochimaru, one of the legendary Sannin. How could this be? Just then, a rapid whooshing sound filled the air, and amidst the flashing lights, Shuriken attacked from behind. No. Something's not right. Sensing an attack from behind, the leading ninja suddenly showed a look of excited elation. If Orochimaru were really here, how could he possibly launch a sneak attack? Run. Orochimaru has no chance of winning here. Run. I'll cover you, you deal with the attacker, the ninja shouted at his 2 students, while he himself charged frantically towards Orochimaru. It must be said that this man was very experienced. He analyzed in the blink of an eye that the Orochimaru in front of him must be an imposter, otherwise why would he be attacked? He didn't know how strong the person behind him was, but his 2 students could test him for him. The 2 young students were immediately excited upon hearing this, their teacher. Watch out! In a brief but lightning-fast moment, the leading ninja, who wasn't wearing a ninja headband, drew his ninja sword from his back and charged towards Orochimaru, while his 2 students behind him each gripped a kunai to deflect the attack. Please continue reading. I'm begging for all your support. Chapter 12 Fire Release, Dragon Fire Technique. Perfect teamwork. At that moment, Orochimaru, hidden in the shadows of the tree trunk, suddenly showed a hint of panic, involuntarily taking a step back. Immediately, the ninja's face contorted with savage elation. "You're asking for death, almost." He was nearly scared out of his wits. If he hadn't quickly spotted the opening, being scared like that would have been incredibly humiliating. A dark shadow flashed, landing on the thick tree trunk. Just as his savage smile faded, and his long sword lunged at the somewhat panicked Orochimaru, a mocking expression suddenly appeared on the other's face. Before he could even register the danger, it was too late. His hand, hidden in his sleeve, had already formed a hand seal, tiger rat sheep rat tiger. Chakra circulated within him, and instantly, the panicked Orochimaru revealed a mocking smile as he raised his hand. Hidden shadow snake hands, beneath a hoarse, mocking smile, as 5 or 6 venomous snakes suddenly sprang from the opponent's arm. Orochimaru, one of the legendary Sannin, felt a surge of fear. At that moment, the ninja's face contorted with terror. Orochimaru, humans can fake their appearance, after all, there's the transformation technique, but ninjutsu cannot. The signature ninjutsu instantly robbed the elite Chunin leading the team of his fighting spirit. He hastily threw his ninja sword, then propelled himself backward with a powerful leap. Escape. Upon seeing the signature ninjutsu, Orochimaru was certain. He no longer had any desire to fight, only escape remained in his mind. However, at that moment, a cacophony of bird calls erupted behind him, an endless cacophony. Chidori, splat, blood splattered as the Chunin screamed. Lightning flashed past him, severing his arm. Damn it! Uchiha Yoru, how come your ninjutsu isn't polished enough? Orochimaru, standing on the tree trunk, revealed an angry expression, a hint of girlish rage in his tone. A puff of white smoke rose, revealing Anko's figure. Immediately, the elite Chunin who had fallen from the sky with a severed arm in the distance showed his fury. You're not Orochimaru. Only then did the elite Chunin realize he'd been tricked. The other party had initially used Orochimaru's fearsome reputation to intimidate him, and with the hidden shadow snake technique, anyone would have truly believed they'd encountered Orochimaru. Who would have thought it was a fake? Captain, 2 students rushed over, and the 3 formed a triangular battle formation. However, Anko, her true form revealed on the tree trunk, glared angrily at Uchiha Yoru, who had landed nearby. The lightning in Uchiha Yoru's hand was still crackling and slowly dissipating. Atomo spun in his eye socket as he chuckled awkwardly. Anko, the opponent is a taijutsu ninja. She dodged this fatal blow at the last moment. He had originally aimed for the back of the opponent's heart, but it ended up being a right arm. Still, it wasn't bad. At least for an ordinary ninja, losing an arm would significantly reduce their combat power, especially since they couldn't use ninjutsu. The lightning in his palm dissipated, and feeling his chakra decrease by a third, Uchiha Yoru smiled as he stared at his prey below 120,000 gold coins. He used them to accelerate his training in the A-rank ninjutsu, Chidori. He wasn't a genius, but he could forge himself into one through spending money. Although he wasn't yet proficient, he could already fully utilize it in battle. In an instant, Uchiha Yoru shot out more a barrage of shuriken from his hand. From his high vantage point, a dense swarm of shuriken flew towards him. The elite Chunin, who had lost an arm, cried out in alarm and anger, "Quick! Stop him, he was just an ordinary elite Chunin, and now, with one arm severed, he couldn't use his ninjutsu, and the numbness in his arm forced him to use his subordinates to buy time." Clang! Clang! In an instant, black shuriken were deflected. However, the next moment, a bald Jinan cried out, "Get out of the way!" It was too late when the 2 tried to dodge. The Chunin with the missing arm reacted quickly, leaping high into the air. He stared in shock down at the shuriken, which were clearly bound with fine steel wires. In the dim light of the dark forest, they were difficult for an ordinary person to spot. In an instant, Uchiha Yoru, perched on a tree trunk, pulled with both hands. Instantly, the flying shuriken began to spin back, binding the 2 Jinan together with the steel wires. At that moment, the elite Chunin who had leaped into the air roared, his left hand firing a kunai, clearly intending to sever the steel wire binding his 2 students. However, someone was faster than him. With perfect coordination, Mitarashi Anko, standing beside Uchiha Yoru, rapidly formed hand seals. "Fire release, dragon fire technique," Mitarashi Anko shouted, taking a deep breath. Instantly, a formidable power emanated from her young chest, followed by a torrent of fire that surged downwards in a straight line. Ah! A pitiful scream rang out as the flames instantly obliterated the 2 young Jinan in a split second, leaving behind a nauseating stench. The elite Chunin, his right arm still bleeding, landed on the ground, sweating profusely and staring in shock at the situation where he was now alone in just a few seconds, involuntarily swallowing nervously. "You're Orochimaru's disciple, Mitarashi Anko." The elite Chunin stared in shock, his face pale. Clearly, their coordinated attacks and the distinctive ninjutsu they used earlier matched the description of the female ninja as Orochimaru's disciple. Hidden shadow snake hands and dragon fire technique were both C-rank ninjutsu, consuming relatively little chakra. Mitarashi Anko, having effortlessly eliminated the troublemaker and leaving only a cripple, wore a mocking smile. That's right, I am Mitarashi Anko, Orochimaru's disciple among the Sannin. Now, you'd better surrender obediently. The other man, sweating profusely, looked at the other person. Upon seeing the red eyeballs in the other's eye sockets, he gritted his teeth and said, I didn't expect another one to be an Uchiha ninja, with Sharingan, too cunning. One was an Uchiha with awakened Sharingan, the other a disciple of one of the Sannin. Even in a direct confrontation, he wasn't confident he could escape alive, let alone with such a cunning scheme, a series of interconnected plots. How ninjas rely on their brains, especially intelligence. Seeing the other's gritted teeth, Uchiha Yoru smiled, clearly intending to infuriate him. However, he was telling the truth. Unless they reached the later stages of their power, where they could dominate everything, ninjas before that were essentially fragile high-attack individuals. A single kunai could be fatal. In the early stages, ninjas relied entirely on intelligence and cunning to overcome the strong and the few. Not on simply exchanging hand seals and unleashing ninjutsu. That would be utter nonsense. Huff, huff. With rapid breathing, the other's expression suddenly changed, his body instantly stiffening. His escape plan was ruined. Feeling the changes within his body, he stared in disbelief at the two incredibly young Konoha genius ninjas before him, trembling as he asked, when did you poison me? He had been rambling on, secretly observing escape routes, but now his chakra seemed to be out of control, and a wave of dizziness washed over him. His experience told him he had been poisoned. As his consciousness began to waver, he remembered the boy severing his arm with Chidori, only then could he have been poisoned. He looked at the boy and girl opposite him, both smiling, and then he collapsed onto the soft grass with a thud. Please support. Chapter 13. The Uchiha clan is willing to provide funding for the Fifth Hokage. Konoha border. Orochimaru-sensei, mission complete. Inside the tent, Orochimaru wearily rubbed his temples, looking at the various intelligence reports in his hands. After all, he was still the commander-in-chief on the front lines, especially with the current turmoil on the border further increasing the workload. Meanwhile, he also had to conduct various scientific experiments in secret, truly a master of time management. Looking at his disciple Mitarashi Anko's adoring expression, and Uchiha Yoru's obviously feigned admiration, Orochimaru looked up at them and flashed his signature smile. If the enemy saw this smile, they would only feel fear. It must be said that Orochimaru has considerable charisma, otherwise, he wouldn't be a strong contender for the Fourth Hokage. Looking at the mission intelligence reports handed to him by Mitarashi Anko, Uchiha Yoru casually shrugged, indicating that she should speak. Anko immediately revealed a smug smile, as if to say, you're smart enough to know better, Orochimaru-sensei. This time we discovered 4 ninjas who illegally entered the country. Of the 3 Jinan, 2 are dead, 1 is crippled, and the remaining Chunin has been taken to the interrogation department. This is the information obtained by the interrogation department. As the commander-in-chief on the front lines, Orochimaru doesn't personally handle every mission. For missions like this, after capturing the prisoners, they hand them over to the interrogation department, who then interrogates them and provides the results before returning to Orochimaru. This way, the so-called commander-in-chief only needs to see what the other party's purpose or conspiracy is. There's no need to waste time speculating. Anko, with an excited and proud expression, slowly recounted the mission's process and the results from the interrogation department. Orochimaru listened patiently, at this moment resembling a wise teacher. When Anko finished speaking, she showed a proud look, as if saying, come and praise me. Anko, you're quite good. But this plan must have been devised by Yoru-kun. Orochimaru's sinister smile didn't bother Anko. Instead, upon hearing this, she glanced at her teammate beside her and gave a haughty snort. Although she wanted to say that she could win even if she faced him alone, she knew that if he wanted to escape, she couldn't stop him, and she certainly wouldn't have been able to finish the battle so quickly and unharmed. Anko, you did very well. Orochimaru first encouraged his student with his signature horse smile, then turned to look at Uchiha Yoru, revealing a sinister smile. Yoru-kun, your talent in ninjutsu and swordsmanship far exceeds my expectations. It seems that you and Anko forming a so-called genius team is not an exaggeration at all. To Orochimaru's praise, Uchiha Yoru feigned a shy smile, but secretly thought to himself, genius? I got all this through pay to win. It was obvious that his ability to master Chidori in such a short time already earned him the title of genius in Orochimaru's eyes. This was also part of Uchiha Yoru's plan. After all, He had now latched onto Orochimaru's coattails. If we're talking about who had the best teachers in Naruto, it would definitely be Jiraiya and Orochimaru, two of the legendary Sannin. But clearly, he couldn't connect with Jiraiya, while Orochimaru's teaching style was quite unique. Naturally, he needed to showcase his talent to exchange for the most resources. Orochimaru-sensei, you flatter me, Uchiha Yoru said with a shy smile, while Enko, standing nearby, couldn't help but purse her lips. Orochimaru, being one of the legendary Sannin, instantly sensed what Uchiha Yoru wanted to say and turned to look at Enko with a horse smile. Enko, there are no missions for a while. Go and practice the ninjutsu I'll teach you. As expected, Enko, currently blindly devoted to her teacher Orochimaru, nodded excitedly upon hearing his words. Don't worry, Orochimaru-sensei, Enko won't hold you back. Enko was clearly a genius, otherwise, how could she have caught Orochimaru's eye? Hell, Night-kun is not bad either. Enko, you can step back now. As Night-kun's teacher, it's time for me to teach you something. Enko was filled with excitement, but upon hearing the following words, she gave Uchiha Knight a disapproving look, her eyes conveying a warning, as if saying, Orochimaru-sensei is already tired, don't trouble him too much. Under Enko's warning gaze, Uchiha Knight gave a wry smile. After Enko left and the tent fell silent again, he saw Orochimaru's meaningful smile, as if asking, what will you bring representing the Uchiha this time? Seeing Orochimaru's expression, Uchiha Yoru took a deep breath. He knew this was his chance to shine. He needed to seize power quickly before Orochimaru defected, otherwise, he would never have another opportunity. Orochimaru-sensei, this is funding provided by the Uchiha clan for you. Uchiha Yoru slowly took out a scroll from his robes. After breaking the seal, a dazzling golden light appeared before his eyes. Orochimaru's eyes clearly flashed with surprise upon seeing this. Gold bricks, piled up like a small mountain, were then sealed back into the scroll. Uchiha Yoru respectfully handed the scroll over. Orochimaru's hoarse laughter upon seeing this clearly revealed a sense of joy. Although he was a scientist, research was a bottomless pit, the required expenditure seemingly endless. Clearly, this suited his taste. When Uchiha Yoru heard Orochimaru's relaxed and joyful laughter, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. His prediction had been correct. Now that Konoha has suffered the Nine-Tails attack and the borders are unstable, Danzo, Orochimaru's partner, will definitely reduce the resources he provides by a significant margin. Especially since Orochimaru is a strong contender for the Fifth Hokage position, it would be a miracle if Danzo still offered him any assistance. Orochimaru must be desperately short of money and resources right now. Hell, it seems Yoru-kun has grand ambitions. Orochimaru licked his lips, looking at the funds he had secured, a smile spreading across his face. He naturally wanted the funds, and the Uchiha clan seemed like a good option as well. Sensei, the Uchiha clan will fully assist the Fifth Hokage. Orochimaru-sensei, Uchiha Yoru smiled, implying that his teacher was the Fifth Hokage and that the Uchiha clan was willing to serve him in any way, especially emphasizing the word sensei. Orochimaru naturally understood the hidden meaning in these words and immediately smiled. Orochimaru-sensei, the Uchiha clan knows that you need a lot of funding for your ninjutsu research. This is the initial funding, the Uchiha clan will continue to provide it later. If you need any research materials, the Uchiha clan will also do its utmost to provide them. At this moment, Uchiha Yoru directly stated his position, revealing a resolute expression. Please support. Chapter 14 Shisui. I did all this for the Uchiha. Orochimaru's unique, hoarse laughter echoed within the tent. To Uchiha Yoru, this laughter was no longer sinister or terrifying, but rather pleasant. A gay retching sound followed, and Orochimaru spat out a saliva-covered snake. The snake then spat out a wet, sticky scroll. Upon seeing the scroll, Uchiha Yoru's face flushed slightly, revealing a surge of excitement. Orochimaru, after retracting the snake, licked his lips and chuckled. Yoru, your teacher has high hopes for your talent. The scroll unfurled, revealing names. He saw Orochimaru's name, and the last name was Mitarashi Enko. The summoning scroll from Raichi Cave. At this moment, Uchiha Yoru took a deep breath, suppressing his excitement, and respectfully said, yes. Orochimaru-sensei, Uchiha Yoru will not disappoint you, or rather, the Uchiha clan would not disappoint, as the relationship between the two sides was primarily political. For Orochimaru, the financial support from Konoha's most powerful clan was a godsend, allowing his research lab, which had been slow to function due to funding issues, to resume normal operations. The teacher that Uchiha Yoru referred to also had a different connotation. Previously, it was because Orochimaru was in a team with Enko, acting as their leader, and Yoru, wanting to curry favor, naturally called him teacher, but this time, it was a master-disciple relationship based on political interests. Before Orochimaru's defection, political acumen was essential for success in Konoha. Orochimaru cut his finger with a kunai, wrote his name on the summoning scroll, and then stamped it with his handprint. Orochimaru immediately smiled. Yoru, it seems you're quite clever, knowing how to utilize your advantages. Orochimaru's wise eyes seemed to hold a penetrating insight, and Uchiha Yoru, without concealing his thoughts, respectfully smiled and said, Orochimaru-sensei, isn't the Uchiha clan's willingness to provide all logistical support the most important thing? The meaning was clear. Orochimaru-sensei, what you urgently need right now is a large amount of funding for research. Does it matter who it is? Even if Orochimaru already knew some of the situation, you've gotten what you need, the rest is simply a matter for the Uchiha clan. Hearing this, Orochimaru smiled. He was very curious about his disciple's abilities, not only in terms of ninjutsu talent but also in his intellect. It seemed to transcend the simple mind of a ninja and encompass the political acumen of a powerful clan. Then, my disciple, will the elite Uchiha troops at the front lines obey your commands or orders? For Orochimaru, who wasn't important, what mattered was the benefits he desired. Upon hearing this, Uchiha Yoru was secretly startled. As expected, Orochimaru had already obtained some information. For example, besides this large amount of financial support, the clan had given him another task, to fully assist the Uchiha clan's genius, Uchiha Itachi, in becoming Orochimaru's disciple. Not bad. Uchiha Yoru was using the clan's resources to pave his own way. Rest assured, Orochimaru-sensei, the Uchiha clan is willing to obey your orders. At this moment, Uchiha Yoru directly and respectfully expressed his and his clan's loyalty, secretly thinking that as long as someone from the Uchiha clan became Orochimaru's disciple, it didn't matter who it was specifically. The die was cast. The 5-year-old Uchiha Itachi had no hope. In the original story, the Uchiha clan couldn't establish a connection with Orochimaru, so the current cooperative relationship couldn't be achieved. This time, he used his knowledge of the wood-released ninja Yamato to make contact. Although it was a bit of a stretch, that didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that he succeeded. Looking at Uchiha Yoru, Orochimaru chuckled hoarsely. He didn't want to concern himself with the intrigues and power struggles within the large clans. He was content with what he wanted. I'll leave the research data on this scroll to the Uchiha elites. Remember to visit Enko when you return, she'll teach you some snake-style ninjutsu. Orochimaru casually handed over a scroll. Uchiha Yoru smiled upon receiving it. Success. He was now a true disciple of Orochimaru, and could even profit from his own clan. Don't worry, Orochimaru-sensei, I'll go inform Shisui right away. With that, Uchiha Yoru excitedly took his leave. Orochimaru wasn't yet obsessed with the Sharingan, he was merely interested in immortality, so he was still safe. More importantly, he only had one tomo. If the Uchiha clan wanted a research subject, it would need 3 tomo, not to mention his own value. As seen in the original work, Orochimaru, though the main antagonist in the early stages, possessed great charisma and a magnanimous heart. He believed that as long as someone had value, flaws were acceptable, his tolerance was immense. The most typical example was Uchiha Sasuke, whose words were often impolite, yet Orochimaru remained unperturbed. As long as someone had value, nothing else mattered. Sasuke's successful apprenticeship under Orochimaru was due to both the Uchiha clan's allegiance and his own talent, though this talent was temporarily acquired through bribery. Who else knew? Returning to the Uchiha camp, Shisui was still there. Brother Yoru, upon seeing the newcomer, Shisui smiled. While he was stronger than Yoru in terms of raw power, he lagged far behind in other areas, especially regarding the future of the Uchiha clan. Lost and confused, he had finally seen the light of hope. Uchiha Yoru entered with a hesitant and troubled expression. He then gestured around the area, and sure enough, Uchiha Shisui immediately said in a deep voice, "Everyone, be on guard in secret." Sure enough, a slight rustling sound came from around the tent. The Uchiha clan's situation was awkward. It had now affected the front lines, as evidenced by the somewhat isolated location of their tent. The Uchiha clan was isolated. Brother Knight, the surrounding area is already secured, and there's even a barrier in place. Everything will be fine. Seeing everything arranged, Shisui frowned, looking at Uchiha Knight with suspicion. "Brother Knight, what's wrong?" Uchiha Knight gave a wry smile, shook his head, and sighed. "Shisui, the clan's mission is to wait for the clan head son, Uchiha Itachi, to arrive. With Itachi's talent, and with my secret probing, we'll see if he can become Orochimaru's disciple." Hearing Knight's words, Shisui frowned. He knew this, of course, but why bring it up now? Could it be? "Brother Knight, have you encountered some problem?" The honest Uchiha Shisui was filled with worry. After all, the Uchiha clan was in a very difficult situation. They had finally managed to establish a connection with the future fifth Hokage, and they absolutely couldn't give up. Seeing Shisui's worried face, Uchiha Knight sighed inwardly. "Shisui, I'm doing this all for the clan, for the Uchiha. I've signed a contract, and starting today I'll be updating twice a day. Please support me." If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15, Exploiting the Family. "Shisui, do you remember what I told you? Orochimaru-sensei is ostensibly the commander-in-chief of the border, but secretly he's also in charge of a certain secret research project." At this moment, Uchiha Yoru hesitated for a moment, then looked up at Shisui and spoke his mind. Yes. These were the words he had thought about and summarized hundreds of times. Upon hearing this, Uchiha Shisui nodded solemnly, his face filled with admiration. "You told me all this? Has something happened, because of the current turmoil in Konoha? Orochimaru-sensei's research has stalled due to lack of funds. The funds provided by the clan can just fill that gap." Yes. Uchiha Yoru was hesitant and somewhat embarrassed. Under Uchiha Shisui's questioning gaze, he sighed helplessly and said, "Orochimaru-sensei had me sign the summoning scroll from Raichi Cave. As for Uchiha Itachi, he said that with Konoha on the verge of turmoil and him carrying out a secret mission, he can allow Uchiha Itachi to adapt to the front lines for a while. He didn't refuse, but he didn't agree either. In short, Orochimaru was too busy right now, not only as the commander-in-chief on the border but also carrying out a secret mission. He didn't have time. He would see how talented Uchiha Itachi was when he had time." That was Uchiha Yoru's meaning. However, Uchiha Shisui was shocked upon hearing this, followed by ecstatic joy. "The summoning scroll from Raichi Cave. Brother Yoru, you've become Orochimaru's disciple." Uchiha Shisui, overwhelmed with excitement, clearly showed disbelief. This was one of the legendary Sannin, and a political investment. "Brother Yoru, what the Uchiha clan needs now is a member who becomes Orochimaru's disciple. It could be Itachi, or anyone else, as long as they're from the Uchiha clan." Uchiha Shisui was thrilled. He truly saw a future where his clan and village could be reconciled. Uchiha Yoru, however, sighed. "I just hope the clan head won't be disappointed." These words immediately roused Uchiha Shisui's expression, and he nodded firmly. "Brother Yoru, don't worry. When the clan head learns that you've become Orochimaru's disciple, he won't be disappointed. On the contrary, he'll be happy." See, Uchiha Shisui is truly a genius fighting for the Uchiha clan. This scene made Uchiha Yoru nod excitedly, and he then revealed his long-planned and meticulously prepared true purpose. "Alice, although we can continue our research now, we are still severely short of funds. My teacher said that due to the losses caused by the Nine Tails disturbance and the border unrest, Konoha simply cannot provide much funding. The funds provided by the clan can only last for a month at most." He first mentioned the turmoil caused by the Nine Tails attack. Although it wasn't a conspiracy orchestrated by the Uchiha clan, the accusation of guilt had already been leveled. As expected, Uchiha Shisui looked somewhat embarrassed upon hearing this. Although it was clearly not their doing, there was nothing he could do now. Hearing the following words, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. As long as Lord Orochimaru didn't suspect or even ostracize the Uchiha clan because of this, it was already incredibly fortunate. So what if their research was in trouble? No problem. Although it wasn't caused by their Uchiha clan, if they didn't do something, it would be a loss if Orochimaru harbored resentment towards the Uchiha clan. "Don't worry, Brother Knight. I'll report this to the clan. The clan will provide a steady stream of funds." At this moment, Shisui was secretly relieved. While other problems were a real headache for the Uchiha clan, funding was the easiest thing to manage. Ninjutsu was a clan's foundation, and they might be reluctant to give that up, but for a powerful clan, especially the Uchiha, The #1 clan in the ninja world, funding was nothing. It was just an external thing, they could earn it back. As expected, seeing Shisui's reaction, Uchiha Yoru smiled with satisfaction. Shisui, this way Orochimaru-sensei can continue to complete the village's secret missions. Also, the clan has helped so much this time. Once Orochimaru-sensei becomes the 5th Hokage, he will definitely not forget the Uchiha. Indeed, this was exactly what the Uchiha needed most. They had no shortage of money or ninjutsu, what they lacked most was to re-establish connections with Konoha and return to the center of power. At this moment, Uchiha Yoru secretly narrowed his eyes. He had given Orochimaru-sensei half the funds today, and now he checked his balance, gold coins. 1.53 million. Looking at Shisui's smile after checking his balance, Uchiha Yoru was immediately happy. He'd made a profit. As expected, missions were not only arduous but also time-consuming, and didn't earn much money. This is such a quick way to fleece people. This one sum alone is over 1.5 million gold coins, which is practically the full reward for an S-rank mission. Keep in mind that the village takes a cut of any mission reward. S-rank missions are usually completed by elite Jonin teams, and even without a team, it's a near-death experience and takes a very long time due to the consumption of various weapons and equipment. More importantly, he's incapable of completing S-rank missions. Now, it's perfect, he's fleecing the clan, one S-rank mission after another. He really wishes Orochimaru wouldn't be in such a hurry to defect so he could fleece even more. Not much, just 2 or 3 years, thanks to the pay-to-win system, and he could definitely become an elite Jonin, an elite member of the Uchiha clan. Thinking of this, Uchiha Yoru muttered to himself, for the clan, for the Uchiha, right, Shisui. At this moment, Uchiha Yoru cautiously glanced around, then took out a mission scroll and said in a deep voice, a secret mission for the village. The border is currently unstable, and Root cannot spare any elites. Orochimaru-sensei urgently needs to complete the village's missions. Some shady missions will likely require the elites of our Uchiha clan to complete. As the scroll slowly opened, a look of shock flashed in Uchiha Shisui's eyes. He quickly composed himself, frowning and looking at the mission scroll with a serious expression. Brother Yoru, this, Uchiha Yoru nodded firmly, that's right, just as you see, Shisui. This is the material Orochimaru-sensei needs for his research, human experimentation. And with the border in turmoil, spies from many countries and ninjas from smaller nations are gathering intelligence. It's perfect for using them as experimental subjects. However, Uchiha Shisui looked at his brother Uchiha Yoru, who showed no shame whatsoever, and was utterly shocked. This human experimentation is banned, isn't it? Please support me, please keep reading. Chapter 16 Shisui. The human experiments were spearheaded by the Hokage. Shisui, you? At this moment, Uchiha Yoru feigned surprise, then, as if seeing the other's shock and confusion, he smiled and shook his head, saying, Shisui, I was shocked at first too, but later I didn't think so. Brother Yoru, what do you mean? Shisui was clearly frowning in confusion. After all, human experimentation was strictly prohibited in the ninja world. However, Uchiha Yoru smiled, shook his head, and sighed as if to say, Shisui, as an elite ninja of the clan, you naturally know many things about the clan, while I seem to know nothing. Having followed Orochimaru-sensei for so long, I've clearly passed his tests. Having seen some things, I'm no longer shocked. You know the 2nd Hokage, right? Hearing this, Uchiha Shisui frowned, then nodded slightly. Uchiha Yoru glanced around cautiously, and after confirming no one was around, whispered, Orochimaru-sensei was in charge of the village's secret research mission, the 2nd Hokage's unfinished human experiments. Also, the first person in charge of the village's human experiments was the 2nd Hokage-sensei, followed by Root leader Shimura Danzo, and now it's Orochimaru-sensei. At this moment, Uchiha Shisui was shocked. He was naturally aware of some of the village's dark side. After all, the ninja world has both light and darkness. But he truly hadn't expected that while the village verbally proclaimed its prohibition, it had actually been continuing in secret all along. It was truly astonishing that the Hokage was behind it all, especially the 2nd Hokage. Seeing Shisui's shock, Uchiha Yoru muttered to himself, I'm not lying, this is all true. What you think is your business, don't just talk about Konoha, other villages have been doing it all along, they've just kept it a secret. Let me tell you something else. Uchiha Yoru's expression grew even more serious as he said this, His voice deep and heavy. The wood-released ninja experiments that the village once forbade haven't stopped, and they've even succeeded. What? Clearly, Uchiha Shisui, as a descendant of the Uchiha clan, held a different position within his family and naturally knew some of the secrets. His eyes widened in disbelief. He had heard of the wood release project, that horrific human experimentation, and he truly hadn't expected the village to have been secretly conducting it all along, and even succeeding. Seeing Shisui's shock, Uchiha Yoru gently shook his head and sighed. Orochimaru-sensei saw too many tragedies, so these human experiments were all conducted using enemy ninjas. As for Danzo of Root, never mind, I won't say it. I'm afraid you wouldn't be able to accept it, Shisui. After all, the human experiments were secretly planned by the Second Hokage, and the wood-released ninja project was completed under the leadership of the Third Hokage. He wasn't lying. The wood-released ninja project was indeed completed during the reign of the Third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. As for the Third Hokage not knowing, who can you blame but your old buddy for keeping it a secret? But to say you didn't know about this secret research is nonsense. Right under your nose, you didn't know? After a brief moment of shock, Shisui calmed down. Human experiments. The wood release project was completed under the leadership of the Third Hokage. Even Yoru didn't want to mention it, so the success of this project must have been extremely tragic. Looking at Uchiha Shisui's imagined scenario, Uchiha Yoru muttered to himself, I'm just telling the truth. What you think is your own business. I just don't believe you can still blindly worship the Third Hokage after learning about the village's dark side. In the original story, Shisui's blind trust likely stemmed from the panic and unease he experienced after the Uchiha clan lost power, a period undoubtedly marked by Orochimaru's defection, given the recent Nine Tails attack. Under these circumstances, Shisui bore the heavy burden of the clan, and the Third Hokage was exceptionally skilled at winning people over. Naturally, Shisui placed his hopes on the Third Hokage, leading to some tragedies. Hope shouldn't be placed on others, it should be placed on oneself. This time, with his appearance, the Uchiha had clearly established a connection with Orochimaru. Orochimaru was undoubtedly a hot figure at this time, a shoo-in for the future Fifth Hokage. How could the Uchiha not place their hopes on Orochimaru, the future Fifth Hokage? Thus, Uchiha Shisui naturally placed his hopes on Orochimaru. Unlike in the original story, however, he had a partner, Uchiha Yoru, instead of being alone, which led to a degree of emotional dependence. When Orochimaru defected, and the Third Hokage wasn't the ideal figure Shisui had imagined, tisk, just thinking about it made Uchiha Yoru chuckle inwardly. This time, he'd see how the seemingly unyielding Third Hokage and Danzo would fare against them. Oh, and there was also the traitor Itachi. But no problem, according to his plan, before Orochimaru defected, he'd trick the clan into sending Itachi to the front lines, and he'd naturally help this lost traitor find his true purpose in life. Alright, I will secretly lead an elite squad to capture the target. When Shisui heard this shocking revelation, he was shocked, but mostly helpless. The village had been secretly working on this for so long, and had even completed the wood release plan. What could a mere jonin like him say? Besides, the Second and Third Hokage were leading these human experiments. This was utter nonsense. He could only grit his teeth and accept it. However, Shisui didn't realize that the Hokage, the figure of lofty ideals he held in his heart, wasn't as dazzling as he thought. Seeing Shisui agree to secretly capture human test subjects, Uchiha Yoru smiled and nodded, saying, Alright, I'll go too. You? Under Shisui's questioning gaze, Uchiha Yoru shrugged and smiled. Orochimaru-sensei taught me summoning beasts precisely to better complete missions, especially since this is a top-secret mission, a mission for the future Fifth Hokage. Hearing this, Shisui was momentarily stunned, then a forced smile appeared on his face. He reassured himself, it's alright. They're all ninjas from an enemy country anyway. Even without human testing, they can't escape death. It's all for their clans, for their villages, Uchiha Yoru secretly pondered. Orochimaru was indeed cunning. This was clearly an attempt to win him over and confirm his loyalty. The task he was given could only be completed by the Uchiha elite. Once the Uchiha participated, they would be on Orochimaru's side, naturally leading to mutual trust and cooperation. The summoning beasts he was also taught were clearly for completing missions, ensuring he wouldn't be discovered by those with ulterior motives. After all, the snakes of Raichi Cave were mobile fortresses capable of swallowing ninjas. How secretive. Thinking this, Uchiha Yoru secretly warned himself to be careful. The Orochimaru of today wasn't the later, completely obsessed with immortality and the Sharingan after becoming a rogue ninja. Now, he was a top candidate for the Fifth Hokage. Who in politics is clean? Who is simple? It seems he needs to be more cautious about the clan funds passing through Orochimaru's hands in the future. Fortunately, it hasn't been long, and fortunately, he knows the future. Otherwise, if his middleman profits and kickbacks were exposed, there would be no turning back. Uchiha Yoru muttered to himself, "Be careful. Once Orochimaru defects, everything will be unresolved, and all dangers will be eliminated. I just need to be careful during this time." Please continue reading and support. Chapter 17 Secret Research Institute. Half a month later, Konoha reinforcements arrived, and the situation on the border became increasingly stable. Only some ninjas from smaller countries, seeking to incite conflict between major powers, continue their attempts to sow discord and even hire rogue ninjas. In a secluded spot on the jungle, from a dark cave, screams echoed, but were completely blocked by the surrounding barrier, preventing even a sound from escaping. Above ground, lush trees provided shade, dense forests and haystacks abounded, and birds chirped merrily. But beneath the surface lay a terrifying human research facility. The barrier isolated the air, making the place eerily quiet, without a trace of human presence. "How, Knight-kun, I didn't expect you to possess such skillful medical ninjutsu," Orochimaru chuckled hoarsely, while Uchiha Knight, slowly removing his medical rubber gloves, wearily wiped the sweat from his brow and smiled, saying, "Elder Setsuna said that a ninja should never reveal their trump cards, but to gain Orochimaru-sensei's trust, this is necessary." Looking at Uchiha Knight's youthful face, Orochimaru immediately revealed his signature smile, his tongue involuntarily licking his lips. Knight-kun has been on the front lines for 3 months now, and at 15 years old, to have mastered the A-rank medical ninjutsu healing palm technique is truly extraordinary. Hearing this, Uchiha Knight was taken aback, then smiled and nodded. Yes, the Nine-Tails night was the protagonist's birthday, and Naruto's birthday was October 10th. 3 months had passed, making it the second year, and he had naturally grown another year older, 15 years old. Orochimaru nodded with satisfaction. The disciple sent by the Uchiha clan was indeed to his liking, and he even understood why. In Orochimaru's mind, the Uchiha clan was obviously trying to curry favor with him. Human research naturally required medical ninjas, and those skilled in healing jutsu were few and far between, especially from the Uchiha, known as a fighting clan. First, they offered the bait of wood-released ninjas, then financial assistance, and finally, this free assistant. The Uchiha clan's sincerity was undeniable. However, Orochimaru was unaware that this was all the work of his disciple, who was playing both sides. Taking advantage of his precognitive abilities, Orochimaru was naturally making the most of it. The clan was undoubtedly speculating, and Orochimaru was also imagining that he had sacrificed his charm to get close to Mitara, learning secrets such as Orochimaru's ongoing research in Konoha, which had been disrupted by the Nine-Tails turmoil and broken funding. Naturally, the Uchiha wanted to invest to establish a relationship with Orochimaru, leading to the situation where neither side knew the full story. As for the possibility of exposure, Uchiha Yoru couldn't help but smile. There wouldn't be time to expose it. After all, not only would Orochimaru defect, but more importantly, given the current situation of the Uchiha clan, they were eager to keep these matters secret and gradually ease tensions after Orochimaru took over. If they found out now, wouldn't it be exploited by those with ulterior motives? Especially Danzo. Both sides were cautious and naturally wouldn't bring up this foolish question again, since their cooperation agreement had already been reached. The Uchiha needed the trust of Orochimaru, the future Hokage, while Orochimaru needed funds, a perfect match. Orochimaru-sensei, it seems we're running out of test subjects. Uchiha Yoru wearily rubbed his temples. Human experimentation really required talent. He had used money to accumulate medical ninjutsu experience to the level of a special Jonin, but he could still only be an assistant who followed orders. After all, this stuff really depended on talent. I know how to do things, but if you ask me to do it alone, I'm completely lacking. Orochimaru smiled when he saw the human bodies and even organs, as well as various snake monsters, floating in containers in the research room. This time the experimental subjects will probably have to trouble Yoru's elite Uchiha squad. This time, the requirements are different. Orochimaru chuckled enthusiastically. 100 male children, all under 5 years old, preferably descendants of ninjas. Upon hearing this, Yoru Uchiha looked surprised, staring at Orochimaru. Suddenly, he seemed to realize something. Orochimaru, without hiding his thoughts, smiled and nodded. Just as you thought, Yoru, the Uchiha information is very useful. There's indeed a wood-released ninja currently en route. This proves the direction of the experiment is correct, so this time I need more experimental subjects. Hearing this, Yoru Uchiha frowned slightly, then nodded. Sensei, this time the experimental subjects are a bit troublesome. After all, they are ninja children, it will take some time. Orochimaru was extremely lenient with those of value. His horse smile didn't rush him. After all, intelligent people know how to conduct a conversation, and no one would deliberately delay. By the way, Yoru-kun, it seems your clan leader has brought his eldest son to the front lines this time, along with your Uchiha elite squad. Orochimaru looked over with a horse smile, and Yoru immediately gave a troubled smile and shrugged. Well, the clan leader's eldest son is a genius after all, so naturally he wants to become your disciple. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes and smiled, but said nothing. Yoru, of course, understood and nodded with a smile. Don't worry, Orochimaru-sensei, I'll go back now and won't let anyone disturb you. Orochimaru wasn't obsessed with the Sharingan yet, so he naturally didn't want to be a babysitter. After all, Orochimaru was pursuing immortality, and Yoru had earned this honor through his own efforts. First, he used the wood-release ninjutsu clue to make connections, then he used his financial resources to become a partner, and finally, he revealed his hidden medical ninjutsu ability to become Orochimaru's assistant. Orochimaru squinted at the provided data analysis report, then shook his head in disappointment and sighed. It seems the side effects of merging animals and humans still can't be minimized. This research lab was dedicated to studying the fusion of animals and humans, as some animals do possess longevity genes. Completely disillusioned, Orochimaru abandoned this research and turned to other areas. However, the underlying principle remained simple: lifespan. How to extend lifespan. Uchiha Yoru, though lacking in natural talent, still possessed some knowledge from his past life's explosion, and smiled, nodding. Orochimaru-sensei, perhaps we could try summoning beasts. Summoning beasts? Upon hearing this, Orochimaru appeared thoughtful, while Uchiha Yoru smiled and nodded, saying, although I don't understand these things, I know that the biggest difference between animals and humans is intelligence. Summoning beasts are different, compared to humans. Aside from physical differences, their intelligence is almost equal. It must be said that Orochimaru was most satisfied with Uchiha Yoru's creativity, and he couldn't help but smile and nod, saying, not bad, summoning beasts are worth trying, but summoning beasts with intelligence equal to humans are extremely rare. Even so, a greedy thirst for knowledge still shone in Orochimaru's bewitching golden snake eyes. Although they were rare, that was precisely what attracted him. Please continue reading and support. Chapter 18: The Arrival of Uchiha Fugaku. On the border of Konoha, Uchiha Yoru, returning from his journey, met with the clan head, Uchiha Fugaku. This time, the clan head had come with two purposes. One was to bring his eldest son to experience the war, and the other was to bring the elite troops of his clan. In the dimly lit tent, Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Yoru sat facing each other in a formal seat. In Japan, the rules of hierarchy and etiquette are practically ingrained in the very bones. Various forms of etiquette are held to extremely strict standards, especially in wealthy families where even the slightest mistake is unacceptable. The formal seat involves kneeling on the floor with the buttocks resting on the heels, legs extended flat, and heels moving down towards the buttocks. Hands are placed on the knees or thighs, and the back is straight. Men kneel slightly apart, while women kneel with their knees together. In short, it is the so-called kneeling posture. Clan chief, in the dim candlelight, Uchiha Yoru deliberately feigned exhaustion, trying to appear energetic. Upon seeing this, Uchiha Fugaku frowned and asked in a deep voice, Yoru, any progress? In just 3 months, the Uchiha clan had already invested a considerable amount of money. Although things were going well, especially after Orochimaru accepted Uchiha Yoru as his disciple, which represented a certain trend, there had been no other developments recently. He couldn't help but want to know what the future Hokage was thinking. Seeing Fugaku's solemn expression, Uchiha Yoru sighed softly. Orochimaru-sensei is ostensibly the commander-in-chief on the front lines, but secretly he's carrying out a clandestine human experimentation research mission. This is practically a top-secret mission, and more importantly, seeing Yoru's hesitation, Fugaku said in a deep voice, don't worry, the clan has no intention of interfering in this top-secret mission. You know that, and so far, only the elders, Shisui, and a few others in the clan know about it. It's also a top secret within the clan. This was the truth. The Uchiha clan had no time to care about any top secret missions. Their primary concern was the hope of the Uchiha clan returning to the center of power in Konoha. Seeing the clan leader's expression, Uchiha Yoru hesitated for a moment before letting out a deep sigh. "Clan leader," he said, "according to the clues Orochimaru revealed, the village's higher-ups are extremely wary of the Uchiha clan, especially Danzo, the leader of Root, and the Third Hokage." Orochimaru said that, fearing a second Nine-Tails attack, the Third Hokage is outwardly appeasing them, while Danzo is secretly wary and ostracizing the Uchiha clan. Furthermore, to prevent the Sharingan from controlling the Nine-Tails again, the village is secretly planning to restart the wood-released ninja program. What? Uchiha Fugaku was shocked upon hearing this, a hint of anger flashing between his brows. Damn it! They still don't trust the Uchiha clan. Even at this time, they're still thinking about guarding against them. The wood release program is precisely to guard against the Uchiha. After all, everyone knows that the Sharingan and wood release are the strongest counters to tailed beasts, and while the Sharingan is powerful, it has always been countered by wood release. It was obvious that the village had restarted its wood release research to counter and defend against the Uchiha clan. Seeing Fugaku's anger, Yoru secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Although he had been deceiving both sides, his intentions were good. It was all for the sake of the clan. Recently, because I've become Orochimaru's disciple, it seems the village higher-ups have put a lot of pressure and warnings on him, even reducing research funding again. Hearing this, Fugaku nodded solemnly. He believed this. He couldn't understand the Third Hokage's thoughts, but Danzo would definitely do this. Danzo loved to blackmail people, especially now that someone from the Uchiha clan had become Orochimaru's disciple. Under these circumstances, how could he possibly like it? He would definitely try to trip Orochimaru up. Thinking this through, Fugaku Uchiha said in a deep voice, "Go back and tell Lord Orochimaru that you can rest assured about the funds. The Uchiha clan is willing to triple the amount they provide." Hearing this, Yoru Uchiha was overjoyed. He had taken such a huge risk, trying to profit from both sides, all for this. "Don't worry, clan chief," Orochimaru-sensei said. He trusts the Uchiha clan. Saying these insincere words, Yoru Uchiha showed no shame, but rather a frank expression. All of this was to save the clan. If it all benefited the village in the end, it was better to spend the money now. There's an old saying, the person is gone, but the money remains. Isn't that the greatest tragedy? More importantly, this is the future of the Uchiha clan. Having obtained the information he wanted, Fugaku Uchiha smiled with satisfaction. This was a good start. All he needed to do was wait for Orochimaru to take over. "Yoru, the clan will remember everything you've done." This time, the clan's elites have joined the front lines and are all willing to follow Lord Orochimaru's orders. Tekka is also here. If you have any questions in the future, remember to secretly contact Tekka and Shisui, Uchiha Tekka. He can be considered an elite jonin in the clan. More importantly, he seems to be related to the clan head, since both of them have square faces. Upon seeing Uchiha Tekka's face, Uchiha Yoru immediately showed respect and nodded solemnly, saying, "Clan chief, rest assured, for the sake of the clan." After saying this, Uchiha Yoru's expression became serious, and he lowered his voice, saying in a deep voice, "Clan chief, I heard from Orochimaru-sensei that it seems the root leader, Danzo, is very unhappy that the Uchiha, Hyuga, and Orochimaru-sensei are getting too close, and seems to be plotting something in the shadows." Upon hearing this, Fugaku coldly snorted, "A rat that likes to hide in the shadows." Always like that. There are quite a few clans in Konoha that are close to Orochimaru, with the Hyuga and Uchiha clearly being the leaders. After all, Orochimaru was also of commoner origin, and the supporters behind him were the result of his accumulation over many years. However, after the fourth Hokage failed to be elected a year ago, many former clans began to gradually distance themselves. As a result, less than a year later, no one expected this to happen, and no one thought that the fourth Hokage would be a short-lived man. By the way, I brought the clan's elite this time, and I plan to return in a few days. I'll leave Itachi in your care, Yoru and Shisui." "Yes, clan leader, rest assured." Upon hearing this, Uchiha Yoru patted his chest earnestly, his eyes filled with determination. This time, he wasn't just flattering the clan leader, he was genuinely sincere. How old was Itachi now? 5? No. He was 5 during the Nine-Tails attack last year, so he's 6 this year. And he clearly remembered that in the original story, Itachi's profile stated that he witnessed the horrors of war at 4, experienced the Nine Tails attack at 5, and only entered the Ninja Academy at 6. Since Itachi hadn't gone to school yet, he wasn't a fanatical follower of the will of fire. The young Itachi was probably still in a period of confusion, which was perfect for him to be properly guided and at least steered onto the right path of values. Seeing his clansman Uchiha Yoru working so hard for the clan, Fugaku Uchiha showed a touch of emotion. "Yoru, don't worry, the clan won't treat you unfairly. Whether this succeeds or not, you'll still be there for us." Clearly, whether as a father or clan head, Fugaku Uchiha hoped his eldest son would become a disciple of the future Hokage. Even if it didn't succeed, wouldn't he at least get to know some of the future elites of the clan, like himself and Shisui? At this moment, Yoru Uchiha secretly thought to himself, "You really can't underestimate anyone. This clan head has really made a good plan, no matter what, he won't lose out." Quotation mark. Chapter 19, Giving Young Itachi the Right Values. In a small town on the border of Konoha, under the cover of night, 3 ordinary samurai lay unconscious in a simple house, shrouded in a haze of smoke. The wooden door creaked open, revealing 2 figures, one large and one small. The 2 leading figures, in particular, had bloodshot eyes. The shorter one clearly possessed 3 tomo Sharingan, while the taller one, presumably the leader, had only 1 tomo. It was a peculiar phenomenon. Usually, the strongest were the leaders, but this time was different. The ever-cautious Uchiha Shisui casually flicked 3 senbei needles, instantly embedding them in the pressure points on the necks of the 3 unconscious samurai, plunging them into deep sleep. This also served to detect you if anyone was feigning sleep. Having done this, Uchiha Shisui carefully surveyed his surroundings, especially focusing his 3 tomo Sharingan on the 8 children whose hands were bound together with straw rope. "Brother Knight, these 3 are brokers. According to intelligence, these 8 children were collected by them and are intended to be sold in the Land of Iron." Hearing Uchiha Shisui's report, Uchiha Knight nodded slightly, while Uchiha Itachi, who had followed, looked bewildered and at a loss. At this time, Uchiha Itachi was only 6 years old and hadn't yet attended the Ninja Academy. Although he had witnessed the cruelty of war at the age of 4, he was now even more confused. Looking at the scene before him, especially the children bound together like livestock, Itachi hesitated. Shisui, seeing this, sighed and lowered his head, saying in a deep voice, "They are all orphans abducted or found from the countryside. They all share one characteristic: they have the physique to refine chakra, making them highly sought after by various powers. Besides the 5 great nations and some other powerful nations, smaller countries need to purchase children from the populace to ensure their ninja numbers. Those capable of refining chakra are always a minority, especially in war-torn small countries, which naturally need to find fresh blood to join their ranks, and children are the best choice." Upon hearing Shisui's explanation, Uchiha Yoru gave a mocking smile. "Shisui, Itachi isn't an ordinary child. You'd better tell the truth. Except for the 5 great nations, you should say that the 5 great nations are the ones with the greatest need." With the danger over, Uchiha Yoru immediately squatted down in front of the fire, set up a hot pot, and took out the rations prepared by the 3 samurai to roast. Shisui, standing nearby, shook his head helplessly, went forward to stroke Itachi's young head, and sighed, "Itachi, this world is cruel." However, after finishing everything, Uchiha Yoru's eyes lit up when he saw the children. Then, in front of Uchiha Itachi, he began to form hand seals, boar dog rooster monkey sheep. Summoning jutsu, a puff of white smoke flashed, and a round python appeared. Looking at the summoned snake, Uchiha Yoru lowered his head and pointed at the children in the distance, hoarsely saying, "The children are all over there. Remember to bring these 8 children to Orochimaru-sensei." Seemingly sensing the greed in the snake's eyes, Uchiha Yoru coldly snorted, his body radiating murderous intent, and said in a chilling voice, "If you dare to steal even one, I'll roast you and eat you. You know the consequences." Under this menacing threat, the thick python shrank back in fear, finally reluctantly slithering towards the children. Uchiha Itachi, witnessing the scene, stared in disbelief, finally voicing the biggest question in his mind. "Brother Shisui, why is this mission to find children with chakra physiques?" Itachi was still filled with confusion and uncertainty about the future. It was precisely because of this uncertainty that he went to the Ninja Academy at this age, where he was directly indoctrinated with his so-called will of fire, filling the void in his heart. Uchiha Yoru naturally saw Itachi's confusion and understood perfectly well. When had the eldest son of the Uchiha clan had been brainwashed into siding with Konoha? Only at the Ninja Academy. After all, before going to the Ninja Academy, given Itachi's status, it was impossible for outsiders to easily approach him, let alone deceive him. It must be said that the Uchiha clan was too careless in this regard, or perhaps the Hokage's methods were too sophisticated, completely blinding them to their own shortcomings. The Uchiha clan was focused on the other Uchiha children, and the clan head Fugaku was complacent, neglecting Itachi. As a result, no one expected that the eldest son of the clan head would betray them. After analyzing the situation in his mind, Uchiha Yoru decided that he had to seize this opportunity to leave a deep impression on this brat and absolutely could not let Itachi become the traitor he was in the original story. Uchiha Yoru looked at the fire, inside the house. Only the disgusting sounds of Orochi slowly swallowing several children with his greedy mouth filled the air. Shisui, Itachi is no ordinary child. He was taken to the battlefield by the clan leader at the age of 4 and experienced the cruelty of war. He is also a genius of the Uchiha clan. He began with praise, partly to put young Uchiha Itachi at ease, since even at his age, despite his precociousness, he was essentially still just a 6-year-old. Sure enough, when Uchiha Itachi approached with a furrowed brow and a precocious air, Uchiha Yoru's lips slowly curled into a mocking smile. The future of these children is already sealed. They'll either become tools of other forces or fall along the way. Don't think that the so-called neutral land of iron is any better, and don't think that the 5 great shinobi villages are all sunshine and rainbows. Reality is cruel and indifferent, brother knight. Shisui spoke up with a worried expression, seemingly implying that Itachi Uchiha was still too young to be saying these things. Seeing this, Knight Uchiha glared at Shisui with exasperation. It's because of people like you. If you're worried about the child being too young, why send him to experience the battlefield at the age of 4? After experiencing the cruelty of the battlefield firsthand, you don't teach him the right values. You only teach half the story. No wonder he'll become a traitor. In the original story, young Itachi Uchiha even had suicidal thoughts. It's clear that experiencing war too early without developing his own worldview and values left him with a void in his heart, which the Hokage's faction exploited. In short, he deserved it. The future of these children is inherently cruel, but if we aren't cruel to other countries, then that cruelty will fall on Konoha, the land of fire. Seeing Itachi's questioning gaze, Yoru Uchiha revealed a mocking smile. Your calm demeanor truly befits a young adult who has seen the battlefield, and even more so, the eldest son of the clan head. After another round of praise, Yoru Uchiha changed the subject, looking at Shisui Uchiha and shaking his head. When we return this time, you must tell Itachi about the customs and cultures of various countries. If he wants to enjoy something, then he must naturally pay a price. As the eldest son of the Uchiha clan head, while you enjoy all this glory, you must also bear some important burdens. Please support. Chapter 20 Orochimaru, Itachi's eyes. The fire crackled and popped as the giant snake opposite swallowed all 8 children whole. Its already massive body, as thick as a water vat, grew even thicker, now segmented, looking somewhat comical. With a puff of summoning smoke, the snake vanished. Thankfully, nothing untoward had happened. Speaking of which, Itachi, you're 6 years old now, shouldn't you be going to the Ninja Academy? Uchiha Yoru asked casually with a smile, changing the subject as if asking someone their exam results. Despite being only 6, Uchiha Itachi, raised by his clan, was very polite. Although filled with countless questions, he nodded politely and said, last year, due to clan training, I'm going to the village's Ninja Academy this year, but school starts in March. After answering, Itachi hesitated. He had too many questions, and his older brother Shisui seemed to treat him too much like a child. Therefore, he looked at the clansmen before him, whom even his father valued highly. Why are these children needed for this mission? Itachi finally asked, voicing his doubts. Hearing this, Yoru Uchiha gave a self-deprecating laugh. Why else? If we don't look for children from outside, people in the village will naturally want to capture children from the land of fire or even Konoha. Friends versus outsiders, if you were in that situation, what would you choose? This question startled Itachi. After a moment's hesitation, he said softly, naturally, I'd protect my own people, haha. Not bad. To prevent some people in the village from harming our own people, we naturally have to deal with outsiders. At this moment, Shisui Uchiha seemed about to offer some words of dissuasion, but Yoru Uchiha's face turned serious. He said in a deep voice, "Shisui, Itachi is the clan leader's eldest son. He carries the honor of the Uchiha clan on his shoulders. From birth, after enjoying the honor and all the material things that come with being the clan leader's son, he is different from other children. From birth, he has had to shoulder the heavy burden of the clan. How, Shisui, don't talk like a child. Kakashi Hatake graduated as a Jonin at 5 and became a Chunin at 6. A Chunin is already leading a squad in battle. Do you think the Uchiha clan is inferior to the Hatake clan?" Upon hearing this question, Shisui gave a wry smile, shook his head, and sighed. "Brother Yoru, that's not what I meant." Seeing Itachi's calm expression, Shisui sighed again and shook his head. "Perhaps, but Itachi hasn't even gone to the ninja academy yet, and he's not a ninja." Seeing Shisui still defending Itachi, Yoru smiled inwardly, cursing him as an idiot. If he hadn't taught these two sooner, one might have run away and committed suicide, and the other might have become a traitor. Then, no one would give him a chance to regret it. It's because Itachi is going back to the ninja academy that there are some things he can't learn there, so we need to teach him in advance. Shisui gestured for Itachi to sit in front of the fire. Itachi knelt respectfully to the side, while Shisui shook his head with a wry smile and sat down as well, but he was on guard at all times. Looking into the innocent and confused eyes of young Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Yoru chuckled and shook his head, saying, "Itachi, you are lucky because you are the son of the clan head. You were born with something that countless people strive for their entire lives but cannot obtain. But you also have to shoulder the heavy responsibility of protecting the clan. There are some classified missions that cannot be revealed, but as the son of the clan head, your identity has some dark aspects that you must face. Therefore, I tell you, wherever there is light in this world, there is darkness, and even the light itself is darkness." Looking at the slightly confused Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Yoru showed no discouragement. Instead, he smiled and nodded. Nothing is achieved overnight. He would take it slowly, without rushing. The Nine Tails attack had just ended, and Uchiha Shisui was not yet the hopeless Shisui of the body flicker technique. Uchiha Itachi was still just a little kid. If he didn't bring these two back to the right track at this point, he might as well just die. Many people who transmigrate into the Uchiha clan train desperately to change the fate of the clan's massacre, almost entirely relying on their superior strength. The best approach would be to make these two his own people first. A hero needs 3 helpers. Human experimentation, which is explicitly prohibited in the ninja world, has always existed, not just in Konoha, but also in the 5 great nations and some other ninja villages. As for smaller ninja villages, it's not that they don't want to, but that they lack the capability. Human experimentation. Upon hearing this, Uchiha Itachi couldn't help but show surprise. Uchiha Yoru saw the other's expression change for the first time. Itachi secretly recalled the 8 children from earlier. Could it be that the clan had been conducting human experimentation all along? Uchiha Yoru naturally didn't know what Itachi was thinking, but it didn't matter. He was going to leave an indelible stain on Itachi's understanding of the Hokage while it was still a blank slate. The village has been secretly conducting human experiments, and as you know, after the Nine Tails night, the clan has been isolated. To find outside help, they can only pin their hopes on Orochimaru-sensei. Speaking of Orochimaru, Uchiha Yoru feigned excitement and admiration, his face radiating determination. "Itachi, you're still young and can't understand the clan's current predicament, but I can tell you, Orochimaru-sensei's current prestige will soon make him the 5th Hokage. Then, the clan will surely return to the center of power in Konoha and regain the trust of the entire village." At this moment, Uchiha Yoru was a complete fanatic, placing his hopes on the future 5th Hokage. The best way to smear someone isn't through direct slander, but by praising another, thus raising a banner that subtly exposes the ugliness of the other. Seeing this, Shisui also showed determination, nodding solemnly. "Brother Yoru, don't worry, once Lord Orochimaru becomes the 5th Hokage, the clan will definitely return to Konoha." He firmly believed this. At this moment, Shisui silently and solemnly proclaimed in his heart, while Uchiha Itachi, hearing such words for the first time, instantly had the radiant image of the future 5th Hokage, Orochimaru, whom he had never met before, flash through his mind. Since the clan's hopes were all placed on the future 5th Hokage, Orochimaru, and the clan, his father, and his older brother Shisui all believed this, then it must be true. In an instant, Itachi's bewildered eyes brightened with determination. Although he couldn't yet fully comprehend or grasp everything, He knew that the Hokage in his mind was a great person, and since Orochimaru was the future 5th Hokage, he must be a great Hokage. Seeing Itachi's resolute gaze, Uchiha Yoru secretly muttered to himself, "Don't be fooled. You're someone who can kill Orochimaru with a single glance, and you're the nemesis of snakes, Itachi. Don't end up becoming Orochimaru's loyal supporter." Uchiha Yoru wasn't a master of brainwashing, but he knew the Uchiha clan needed a hope, and the 5th Hokage, Orochimaru, was that hope. Before that, he needed to infinitely amplify the future Hokage's virtues in the eyes of Shisui and Itachi, two important figures. After all, if he said the Hokage was good, no one could disagree, right? At the same time, using the glorious image of Orochimaru to strike at the remnants of the old era, was that too much? Being a little excessive was fine. After all, there was the future Hokage who had set a shining example. This Hokage was hope, but what if that hope collapsed? Thinking of this, Uchiha Yoru smiled. He didn't know what would happen, but one thing was certain, the glorious and holy image of the Hokage was no longer pure. He wanted to see how Konoha would still fool the traitors of the Uchiha clan then. Please support. Chapter 21 The Red Bean Plantation taking shape. Half a month later, the elite Uchiha squad that had been secretly carrying out the mission returned, but this time, the expressions on everyone's faces were somewhat grim. After all, for them, born into a wealthy family, to be doing a mission like finding children with chakra-based physiques was simply too low class. Moreover, this was a classified mission, and everyone was frustrated. Fortunately, the number of children to be found wasn't large, and it would be quick. However, some of them secretly discovered something. This mission seemed to be related to Lord Orochimaru. After all, the children wouldn't be brought back. Instead, they would be gathered at a certain location and handed over to Shisui, who was, after all, the nominal commander. "Shisui, we've got enough. Let the clan's ninjas go back to camp and get some rest." Uchiha Yoru sighed inwardly after seeing the mission completed. He had been forced to drag the entire Uchiha clan into this mess, otherwise, if Orochimaru had betrayed them, he alone would have been exposed, and whether the Uchiha clan would have protected him for his sake was hard to say. But this time, so many Uchiha elites have been dragged into this mess. Konoha wouldn't arrest them all for a mere suspicion, would they? After all, there are quite a few, and they're all elites. The Uchiha clan wouldn't agree to it. Anyway, they've got plenty of debts to burn, let them do whatever they want. "Brother Knight, I'm going back to camp now." Having completed the mission, Shisui felt a sense of relief, as if a burden had been lifted, and bid farewell to Uchiha Knight. After all, he knew what would happen to these children, human experimentation. It sounded obvious. Before parting, Uchiha Itachi seemed to see something different in his confused vision, and looked at Shisui and Knight. "Brother Knight, I'll take Itachi back to the clan leader, go ahead." Uchiha Knight smiled casually and waved, but when he saw a certain emotion in Itachi's eyes, he smiled inwardly. The seed had been planted. He didn't believe that Itachi, who had opened the ugly door of Konoha, would be so easily brainwashed. Moreover, he never mentioned how Konoha exploited them. Instead, he said to trust Konoha, to trust the future 5th Hokage, Orochimaru. He claimed the ugly and sinful aspects were merely the work of corrupt individuals. "Uchiha Yoru," a voice filled with anger rang out. Uchiha Yoru turned his head, only to see Mitara Shianko's furious eyes staring directly at him. Shisui, witnessing this, shrank back guiltily, praying they wouldn't be discovered, and hurriedly led Itachi away. "Brother Shisui, what's this?" The young and innocent Uchiha Itachi couldn't understand the situation, while Shisui felt even more guilty. After all, he knew the whole story. Yoru had only approached them for the sake of the clan. If this were exposed, he felt utterly ashamed. All he wanted to do now was escape. "Itachi, let's go back first." Shisui simply gave Itachi a persuasive answer before leading him towards the clan's camp. Young Itachi, however, frowned, pondering the situation. The clan seemed rather strange. On the other side of the scene, seeing Anko caught, Uchiha Yoru feigned a gentle, innocent smile. "Isn't this Anko? What happened to you?" Looking at Uchiha Yoru's irritating face, Mitara Shianko's teeth clenched in resentment, and she coldly snorted, "Looks like there's something I need to remind you of. 200,000. What happened to the promised 200,000? At that moment, Uchiha Yoru's face showed a look of sudden realization. "Oh, that's it. I was wondering what was wrong with you, Anko. Come on, let's go back and talk about it." While Uchiha Yoru wore a casual, relaxed smile, he was inwardly groaning. 200,000. How could he possibly get away with this? He couldn't let the money slip through his fingers. Absolutely not. With a gentle smile, Uchiha Yoru led Anko to a forest behind the camp, teasingly saying, "Oh, right, I almost forgot. Orochimaru-sensei asked me to come back and check if your training has been neglected." Anko, what? Upon hearing that Orochimaru-sensei wanted to check her training, Materashi Anko's face lit up with excitement, completely forgetting about the 200,000 yen she owed. How could that be? I've been training diligently. I've mastered Hidden Shadow Snake Hands and Hidden Shadow Multi-Snake Hands. As Orochimaru's signature ninjutsu, Hidden Shadow Snake Hands requires a snake-type summoning beast to perform. It's a C-rank ninjutsu, while Hidden Shadow Multi-Snake Hands is a B-rank, a versatile ninjutsu for surprise attacks and control. At this moment, Anko wore a haughty expression, still basking in the glory of being Orochimaru's disciple, one of the legendary Sannin, not yet the Anko of the future who had experienced everything. Seeing Anko's smug smile, Uchiha Yoru chuckled lightly. Raising his hand, 9 long, bluish-black snakes instantly sprang forth from his wide, white sleeve, eliciting a gasp from Anko. Each snake opened its gaping maw, baring its fangs and claws as it attacked. Hidden Shadow Serpent Hands. It must be said that Anko's status as a chunin was no fluke. Caught off guard by the sneak attack, she leaped backward, her hands rapidly forming hand seals as she instantly unleashed the same ninjutsu. Instantly, 5 more snakes shot from Anko's arm, a complete defeat in terms of quantity, and also inferior in size. In an instant, the two clashed with their Hidden Shadow Serpent Hands. Under Uchiha Yoru's ninjutsu, 5 of the snakes directly coiled around Anko's 5 snakes, while the remaining 5, caught off guard and screaming in surprise, wrapped around her delicate body. Damn it! Uchiha Yoru, you ambushed me. Try again if you dare. Anko, seething with resentment, glared at Uchiha Yoru. Little did she know that with a long snake tightly binding her small, delicate body, the budding bulge in her chest was immediately apparent. Uchiha Yoru's eyes widened in shock, inwardly exclaiming, "Good heavens, how big is she?" No wonder the original story described Anko as having the title of second Tsunade of Konoha before Hinata even grew up. Truly, there were no wrong nicknames, only wrong names. Similarly, Uchiha Yoru's gaze didn't escape Anko's notice. Following his gaze, when she saw her bulging breasts, a look of embarrassment and anger rose on Anko's face. Uchiha Yoru. Where are you looking? Sorry, I didn't want to do this either, but what can I do? You're just so well-nourished. Looking at the bound Anko, Uchiha Yoru chuckled, and Anko gave a disgruntled snort. However, her gaze was then diverted, and a complex look appeared in her beautiful eyes as she looked at him. Are all Uchiha clan members who awaken the Sharingan truly geniuses? Why are you more proficient than me at this ninjutsu, even though you only learned it later? The legend that awakening the Sharingan equates to genius is known not only in Konoha, but throughout the entire ninja world. It's an undeniable fact that once a ninja awakens their bloodline limit, they instantly become geniuses. Seeing the responsible look on Anko's face, yet with a defiant glint in her eyes, Uchiha Yoru smiled. Monday. Please continue reading. Why, if I don't try to push this out this week, it'll be a disaster. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22. My cultivation path is to save money. In the woods behind the Konoha border. Anko, pay attention to this part of this ninjutsu. The hand seals for Hidden Shadow Snake Hands are tiger, rat, snake, rat, tiger, but everyone's constitution is different, the rhythm of chakra mobilization is also different, and there are also differences between men and women. At this moment, Uchiha Yoru activated his Sharingan, staring intently at Anko, one hand stroking her soft belly as he explained something. Ninjutsu isn't something you can activate just by knowing the hand seals, otherwise, with a ninja's memory, memorizing the opponent's hand seals would be a piece of cake. Each hand seal corresponds to a specific chakra meridian within the body. Forming a hand seal involves mobilizing the chakra flowing through these meridians, guiding it to a suitable location, and then unleashing the ninjutsu. The more chakra meridians each hand seal can mobilize, the different the level, difficulty, and power of the ninjutsu. And each ninjutsu is different, some only require 3 chakra meridians, while others require 8, so the same hand seals can produce vastly different effects. Anko, your female physique is different from mine and the teacher's, so naturally I learn faster, Uchiha Yoru, now a teacher, explained with a smile, and Anko looked enlightened. The difference in male and female physiques, the strength of their meridians, meant that the same ninjutsu, like forming a hand seal, could achieve 80% power when Uchiha Yoru mobilized the chakra of the 3 meridians to a certain position. However, with Anko's female physique, she could only achieve 60% power. Uchiha Yoru then sighed slightly, realizing why Kakashi had the title of copy ninja in his previous life. In the original story, when Sasuke fought Deidara, the 3-tomo Sharingan, at its peak, could see chakra. Similarly, the 3-tomo Sharingan could perceive the flow of chakra in the meridians outside the human body. Combined with its exceptional observational skills and abnormal dynamic vision, this was the key to the 3-tomo Sharingan's ability to copy ninjutsu. However, more profound ninjutsu wouldn't work. For example, the Chidori he learned, an A-rank ninjutsu, requires mobilizing deeper levels of chakra meridians within the body, something the Sharingan can't see through, and therefore cannot replicate. Remember to call me senior sister, even if you're stronger than me, Anko was clearly grumbling and sulking. After all, only 3 months had passed, and it was obvious that her understanding of ninjutsu far surpassed his. She even knew that her strength had improved dramatically. Indeed, the Uchiha after awakening their Sharingan were the true Uchiha. Seeing Anko's dissatisfied pout, Uchiha Yoru immediately smiled and shook his head, saying, Anko, have you thought about your future development? Looking at Anko's furrowed brow, he knew that this girl was probably just blindly following in Orochimaru's footsteps, and he couldn't help but gently shake his head. Jiraiya and Orochimaru are both ninjutsu-type ninjas, but they emphasize different aspects. Tsunade is a medical taijutsu close combat type. The Fourth Hokage's Flying Thunder God technique, while a space-time ninjutsu, is also a speed type. White Fang falls into this category, but he's a close combat type. After explaining at length, it was clear how much effort Uchiha Yoru was putting into getting rid of this 200,000 yen debt. Even giving Anko a concerned look. For example, me. You see, I've already found my direction. Those with Sharingan will utilize their advantages. I've decided to pursue ninjutsu and taijutsu from now on. Uchiha Yoru wasn't lying about this. In fact, he was secretly lamenting that he still didn't have enough money. If he had enough funds, he could be an all-rounder, but now he could only choose the best and most cost-effective path. Exchanging ninjutsu within the system requires gold, and exchanging anything requires money. Therefore, to save money, he could only choose a path with high development potential and low cost. He already possessed the fire release from his clan, and his lightning release already included the A-rank Chidori. He planned to acquire a defensive ninjutsu later. He wasn't planning to exchange for any more ninjutsu, except perhaps one more technique to improve his physique, like the Raikage's lightning release taijutsu. Tisk-tisk, one ninjutsu could be practiced for a lifetime, a versatile skill that saved money. Just as Uchiha Yoru was planning his future money-saving path, Mitarashi Anko frowned slightly, her little head constantly pondering her future path. Suddenly, while deep in thought, Anko sensed a large hand on her abdomen. Her earlobes instantly turned red, but a hint of anger rose on her face. She gritted her teeth and coldly said, "Is mine easier to touch, or is red easier? Each has its own merits," Anko instinctively blurted out. Instantly, Uchiha Yoru saw Anko's angry, biting gaze, and he immediately revealed a righteous and indignant expression. "Anko, what are you thinking? I'm just trying to better sense the flow of chakra within your body. Your thinking is abnormal." Despite clearly taking advantage of her, he now acts all righteous and criticizes her, instantly infuriating Anko, who bared her fangs and gritted her teeth. "Fine. Then tell me, which path should I take in the future? In the later stages of ninja training, one can no longer develop all aspects, otherwise, one will only be mediocre in all areas. To excel in all areas is to be a super genius. Even ordinary geniuses need to find a primary direction to cultivate." Seeing Anko's gritting question, Uchiha Yoru narrowed his eyes, recalling Anko from the original story. Mitarashi Anko graduated at age 10 as a Jonin, became a Chunin at age 12, and later, at the beginning of the original story, was a special Jonin of the village. This means that the once genius Anko later became mediocre. However, Uchiha Yoru was quite aware of Anko's talent. Otherwise, why would Orochimaru, with his temperament, accept a mediocre disciple? It could be inferred that after Orochimaru's defection, Anko had no one to teach her, and coupled with being implicated in suffering psychological trauma, the once brilliant genius ended up as only a special Jonin. Anko, tell me, why did Orochimaru-sensei take you as a disciple? Uchiha Yoru casually asked. Anko was momentarily stunned, then frowned and pondered for a moment before whispering, Orochimaru-sensei once said that my chakra reserves were higher than my peers, and that I also had good talent in chakra control. To be praised by Orochimaru for having a large chakra reserve and good control meant she was definitely a genius. Thinking of this, and looking at Anko's youthful face, Uchiha Yoru couldn't help but smile. Although he was somewhat concealing something. He had to admit that Anko was indeed a warm-hearted girl. That settles it then. What are you still confused about? Orochimaru-sensei and Jiraiya-sama are both ninjutsu-type ninjas. What are you still confused about? Just focus on ninjutsu, and taijutsu as a supplement, Uchiha Yoru said casually with a smile, while Anko, seemingly oblivious to her own situation, suddenly understood. New book, please follow. I'll try to get it featured this week. Chapter 23 begins to develop Orochimaru's character design. Yoru, so tell me, which style of ninjutsu should I focus on? Anko seemed to have a sudden burst of inspiration, chattering excitedly before Yoru's eyes, especially her budding breasts, which dazzled him. Is that even a question? With Orochimaru-sensei around, you'll naturally follow his path. First, learn all the snake-style ninjutsu, Yoru said firmly. Orochimaru would be defecting soon, and if he didn't learn as much ninjutsu now, he might miss his chance. By the way, Anko, your ninjutsu can't be too one-dimensional. You have fire-style chakra, right? The C-rank dragon fire technique would be perfect. It has a wide attack range and can complement your snake-style ninjutsu. Uchiha Yoru spoke with a seemingly helpful tone, and Mitarashi Anko, feeling a little embarrassed, smiled and said, since you're so concerned, I won't have to pay back the 200,000. Upon hearing that he didn't have to pay back the money, Uchiha Yoru immediately showed excitement. Money was what he needed most right now. Even if he tried to do both, he was still broke. Brother Hao was right. What a load of rubbish about love. All I want right now is money. 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 However, just as he finished speaking, Mitarashi Anko frowned, looking down at her chest. She seemed to remember the last time, and a surge of anger rose on her youthful face. Uchiha Yoru. Impossible. Give me back the money. Not a penny less than 200,000. The C-rank fire release ninjutsu, dragon fire technique, causes chakra to gather in the chest during its execution. In that instant, the user's chest swells as if they've inhaled a breath, especially for female ninjas, making everything in front of them completely visible. At this moment, Mitarashi Anko's eyes widened in fury. How could the Uchiha clan produce such a person? Seeing Anko's reaction, Uchiha Yoru naturally wouldn't deny this ninjutsu that could directly measure the size of a woman's chest. Instead, he looked puzzled and asked, Anko, what's wrong? You were fine just now. Uchiha Yoru's puzzled gaze immediately caused the angry Anko to snort coldly, secretly pondering, could she have guessed wrong? Indeed, everyone knows that Uchiha Yoru is greedy and a complete money grubber. How could he possibly be a lecherous old man like Jiraiya? However, apologizing wasn't in her nature. Anko snorted coldly, looking sullen, and said, Orochimaru-sensei hasn't taught me in a long time. Uchiha Yoru, who was already eagerly anticipating a change of topic, had no intention of returning to the previous one. He shook his head and sighed. Anko, Orochimaru-sensei has been secretly carrying out secret missions for the village. You have to understand some things. Now he needed to create a persona for Orochimaru, a plausible one. Orochimaru was on the front lines carrying out secret village missions, one way to cover up his elusive nature. As for his other purpose, thinking of this, Uchiha Yoru couldn't help but sneer. He would drag the entire border ninja into this mess. Orochimaru's defection was inevitable, but he couldn't escape Konoha in such a pathetic manner as in the original story, earning himself a fearsome reputation that everyone hated. He was, after all, Orochimaru's disciple. How could he just stand by and watch his master be in such a sorry state? As a disciple, he had to do something, at least to ensure his master's escape was controversial, thus damaging the village and creating unrest. In short, the Uchiha clan could only prosper if the village was unhappy. Thinking of this, Uchiha Yoru smiled. He was doing it all for the clan and the village. He absolutely refused to admit it was for his own selfish reasons. Alright, Anko, Let me check you out first, to see if you have any hidden injuries. Hidden injuries can affect your future development. At this moment, Uchiha Yoru truly had no other intentions, he was genuinely sincere. However, just as he extended his devilish hand, Anko's eyes widened. You. Uchiha Yoru, what do you want to do? Seeing Anko's suspicious gaze again, Uchiha Yoru felt incredibly aggrieved. He truly had no other intentions. How could she be so disrespectful? Desperate to prove his innocence, he stretched out his hand and instantly displayed a medical ninjutsu. When Mitarashi Anko saw the green chakra glow emanating from Uchiha Yoru's hands, she exclaimed in shock, a rank medical ninjutsu, palm healing technique. You. When did you learn that? It's no wonder she was shocked. While medical ninjas might not be the strongest fighters, they were incredibly rare, especially those who mastered the A-rank palm healing technique. During wartime, Konoha even had a rule that any medical ninja who mastered palm healing technique could be promoted directly to special junin through special privileges. This demonstrates the rarity of medical ninjas, especially high-ranking ones, who are scarce throughout the entire ninja world. Seeing the shocked look in Mitarashi Anko's eyes, he shrugged and sighed. Anko, keep some things a secret. Don't tell anyone. His hands, glowing with a vibrant green chakra characteristic of medical ninjutsu, rested on Anko's youthful body. This time, Anko didn't resist. In fact, she readily lay down on the soft grass. But the shock in her eyes remained. Anko stared intently at him, her mind racing. The Uchiha clan. Awakened Sharingan. Before he could even say anything, she had become Orochimaru's student, and then his disciple. These thoughts flashed through her mind, and Anko pondered deeply. She knew the recent situation of the Uchiha clan, and she knew that her teacher was now the object of eager flattery and favor from all the major clans. After all, the fourth Hokage had died in battle, and the borders were in turmoil, but under the protection of her teacher Orochimaru, neither the Land of Lightning nor the Land of Water dared to make any significant moves. Not only in the village, but even on the front lines, there was considerable clamor for Orochimaru to become the fifth Hokage. After all, a year ago, Orochimaru was a strong contender for the fourth Hokage position, but Minato Namikaze ultimately won. To alleviate this awkward situation, Orochimaru was dispatched to the border, which is why he wasn't in the village during the Nine Tails attack. This time, Orochimaru has virtually no competitors. The only remaining qualified candidates for Hokage in Konoha are the legendary Sannin. However, Jiraiya is traveling abroad and rarely in the village. He might be a powerful ninja, but he's not a suitable leader, and he has the lowest popularity among the Sannin. Tsunade was the most popular, but now that she's gone, only Orochimaru remains. After some analysis, Mitarashi Anko smiled and looked at Uchiha Yoru. Is this for the sake of the clan? Looking at Anko's innocent smile, Uchiha Yoru smiled without speaking, but he still nodded slightly. Having received her answer, Anko smiled sincerely. Just as she had analyzed, the knight represented the Uchiha clan. No wonder her teacher had taken him as a disciple. Similarly, his medical ninjutsu was likely a hidden strength. At this moment, Anko finally understood why her teacher had accepted him as a disciple. The Uchiha identity, combined with his talent, was enough. Please support. Chapter 24 Selling Information on Pharmacist Nono. In an underground research lab within the forest bordering Konoha, poison-type ability is acceptable. However, its form is extremely unstable and requires further research. Uchiha Yoru, dressed in a white lab coat, calmly shook his head as he looked at the enormous, ugly white snake in the culture vessel, stating the test data. Especially since this white phosphorus snake had grown a thick head of black hair, its appearance was even more repulsive. Its form constantly changed in the nutrient solution, and its scales were composed of countless white snakes. Inside the brightly lit underground research room, rows of huge glass vessels stood upright, each containing a massive, ferocious, and ugly white snake. How, Yoru-kun, thanks to you, otherwise the experimental data wouldn't have come out so quickly. With a unique, hoarse laugh, Orochimaru took the report handed to him by Uchiha Yoru, looking at the snakes and the culture tanks as if they were works of art, revealing a perverse smile. Uchiha Yoru secretly surveyed his surroundings. This must be the research lab that young Kakashi and Yamato explored in the anime, since the research project here was exactly the same as the giant snake monster they encountered in the anime. Seeing something, Orochimaru let out a soft "A," and smiled. There's another failed specimen, isn't there? Since it's so unstable, let's leave it here. Hearing Orochimaru's mutterings, Uchiha Yoru, perfectly in sync, smiled and nodded. Yes, sir, Orochimaru-sensei. Uchiha Yoru smiled, his eyes narrowing, and formed hand seals. Instantly, he performed the summoning jutsu. The white smoke characteristic of the summoning jutsu dissipated, revealing thick, powerful snakes. Instinctively, they crawled into the cultivation tanks, smashing them open with their heads. Large amounts of nutrient solution flowed out, and the white phosphorus snakes inside seemed to be asleep. Then, a terrifying scene unfolded. Orochimaru, seeing this, revealed a hoarse laugh of interest. One by one, large snakes opened their mouths and began to devour the experimental subjects. Hell, without Night-kun, this experiment would have wasted at least 2 more months. Hearing Orochimaru's praise, Uchiha Knight smiled and said, Orochimaru-sensei, this is what I should do. Immediately following Orochimaru's hoarse laugh, a white snake suddenly crawled out from his shoulder, slowly swimming to his front, opening its mouth and regurgitating a syringe of reagent. Uchiha Knight looked puzzled after taking the syringe, while Orochimaru chuckled wickedly. Head, consider it a reward for being my teacher. This is serum extracted from the most venomous snake in Ryochi Cave. Hearing this, Uchiha Knight immediately smiled. How could he not know this stuff? In the original story, Orochimaru was a terrifying being who could be immune to countless toxins and even transform his body into a white phosphorus snake. He initially relied on this stuff. With this serum, while it might not be immune to all poisons in the ninja world, at least 98% of them wouldn't affect him. He rolled up his arm, injected himself, and although he felt nothing, Uchiha Yoru was overjoyed. Thank you, Orochimaru-sensei. Indeed, Orochimaru was the most arrogant and domineering figure. Following him was the right decision. Orochimaru-sensei, should the research here be stopped? Uchiha Yoru asked, voicing his doubts. After all, the research base was now empty. He had simply followed orders, coming to the base daily to inspect and submit detailed reports. It must be said, Orochimaru truly deserved his reputation as the ninja world's most prolific researcher and stronghold. He had seen 3 bases in the border region alone, and this one was clearly researching the white phosphorus serpent, the initial setting for Orochimaru's later transformation into the white phosphorus serpent, and even the 8-headed serpent ninjutsu. Looking at the research lab, Orochimaru revealed a rare expression of emotion. Thanks to the financial support of your Uchiha clan, but it seems that some people in the village are starting to become dissatisfied because of it. Hearing this, Uchiha Yoru was momentarily stunned, secretly thinking to himself, the plot was indeed starting to change. With the Uchiha clan defecting and siding with Orochimaru, and the Hyuga clan also siding with him, discontent with Orochimaru was growing in the village. Seemingly sensing Uchiha Yoru's worry, Orochimaru revealed a strange smile, licking his lips and chuckling hoarsely, but it's not a big deal yet. After all, the turmoil on the border hasn't subsided yet, and some people still can't bear to part with me. At that moment, Uchiha Yoru instantly analyzed the situation in his mind. Since the Nine-Tails attack, the Land of Fire's border had been somewhat unstable, hence the need for Orochimaru. Once things stabilized, internal strife would ensue. After all, with the village stabilized, a 5th Hokage needed to be chosen. The Third Hokage's initial slogan before taking office was that the current situation was critical, and he was only temporarily assuming the role. The 5th Hokage. Thinking of this, he, who knew the future, was even clearer. Danzo's ambition would never allow someone as powerful as Orochimaru to become the 5th Hokage, let alone the 3rd. He didn't know about Hiruzen Sarutobi, but what about the Sarutobi clan? In the original story, the Sarutobi clan's strength was remarkable. They were practically an army, even stronger than the Hyuga clan. How could so many clan members stand by and watch their patriarch, Hiruzen Sarutobi, fall from the pinnacle of power again? Orochimaru-sensei, the Grand Elder has sent word that the root leader seems very dissatisfied with you. It was clear that Orochimaru would soon be defected, and Uchiha Yoru naturally wanted to make a final, decisive profit. Seemingly sensing Uchiha Yoru's confusion, Orochimaru casually chuckled, there are some things about the village that you wouldn't know because you're not involved. Root is a department no less powerful than the Anbu, handling and carrying out some of the village's shady missions, like these experiments. Uchiha Yoru feigned sudden understanding, as if saying, oh, I see, but inwardly he muttered to himself, Danzo may not be a good person, but sensei, you're being too blatant in your exploitation. So many experimental bases, it's obvious you're using Danzo's support to your own advantage. However, Self-preservation is the first law of nature, and he and Orochimaru were essentially the same kind of people in this regard. By the way, Master, the Grand Elder said that the legendary ninja from Root, codenamed the Walking Shrine Maiden, has left Root and is now the director of an orphanage named Yakashina now. To profit from both sides, Uchiha Yoru solemnly revealed this information, showing no shame whatsoever for using the Uchiha clan elder as a pawn. He had been working tirelessly for the future of the Uchiha, and he believed the elder would gladly understand this small sacrifice. Please continue reading and support. Chapter 25 Danzo's Fury Soars. Maximizing profits is key. Selling Yakashina Nao's information to Orochimaru is clearly the best way to gain the most. Telling the Uchiha clan is pointless. A walking shrine maiden, Orochimaru was initially taken aback upon hearing this information, then revealed a hoarse laugh. How, I didn't expect the Uchiha elders to know so much? It seems the Uchiha are quite familiar with Root. Orochimaru had clearly misunderstood, assuming that Danzo's hatred of the Uchiha had led them to secretly monitor Root, hence the abundance of information. After all, first there was Root's wood-released ninja aka as a pledge of allegiance, and now there's the walking shrine maiden. These are Root's most closely guarded secrets. For the Uchiha elders to know all this, who would believe there's nothing fishy going on? Instead of explaining the misunderstanding, Uchiha Yoru smiled and shook his head, saying, Orochimaru-sensei, the clan head said he will do everything in his power to help you become Hokage. This statement contained a lot of information, and Orochimaru immediately smiled. It seemed the Uchiha clan wasn't a monolithic entity, the elders had their own intelligence network, and the clan head was another group, though this didn't concern him much. How, Yoru, clean up this place. We don't need it anymore. Let's go to the next base. Orochimaru turned and let out a hoarse laugh, chilling to the bone, but Uchiha Yoru felt completely at ease. As long as you still have value to him, you can do whatever you want with Orochimaru. Perhaps this was Orochimaru's magnanimity and personal charisma. Konoha, Root. In the dimly lit secret room, Danzo, his eyes bandaged, had a terrifyingly grim expression. Looking at the two kneeling figures below him, he said in a deep voice, still no results. The two masked Root ninjas, kneeling without emotion, replied indifferently, I'm sorry, Lord Danzo, Root has searched 3 times already, but we still haven't found any trace of any spy infiltrating. Upon hearing this, Danzo flew into a rage, slamming his fist on the table and roaring, no infiltration? Then how did the information that Kagami is a wood-released ninja leak out? Tell me. Not only has Root, Konoha's deepest secret, been infiltrated and had its information leaked, but they haven't even found a single clue. Useless. A bunch of useless trash. At this moment, Danzo was truly enraged. He hadn't even revealed the information about Kagami to Hiruzen Sarutobi, yet Orochimaru knew about it. And now Orochimaru was demanding data and flesh and blood research, even saying he wanted to restart the wood release project. When Danzo saw the message from Orochimaru, he was instantly enraged. His anger wasn't about the so-called valuable information and flesh, nor was it about the leak of information about the armor, it was that he knew Root was in trouble, yet Orochimaru couldn't find out. This was the root of his fury. Useless, Danzo roared, and the two Root ninjas lowered their heads in silence. They dared not show the slightest dissatisfaction, they even felt a sense of fear themselves. The fact that Root had been infiltrated was terrifying. Hiruzen, is that you? At this moment, the enraged Danzo narrowed his eyes. The only person he could think of now was his old buddy, the Third Hokage. After all, in Konoha, only the Third Hokage, who had held the position for many years, possessed the ability and power to plant people in his root without anyone noticing, and yet he couldn't find anything amiss. Lord Danzo, all Root ninjas possess the tongue-severing seal, making it virtually impossible for them to leak information. Hearing his subordinate's confident words, Danzo sneered, visibly impossible? There's never a perfect ninjutsu. Since it's a sealing technique, it can naturally be broken, and then sealed again. At this point, Danzo was certain it was Hiruzen Sarutobi's doing. After all, only the Third Hokage possessed the ability to seal with the tongue-severing seal, then learn about Root's information and break the seal. Thinking of this, Danzo felt like a monkey being played, smugly believing the other was unaware. His face turned green with rage, and he gritted his teeth, saying, Hiruzen. Fine. Fine. You've been playing me like a monkey all these years. He could already imagine that everything about Root was under Hiruzen Sarutobi's watchful eye. All his smugness about his secret schemes had turned out to be nothing more than that of a clown. Inside his office, the third Hokage wearily puffed on his pipe, exhaling a thick cloud of smoke before frowning at the intelligence reports from the border. Sigh. Thankfully the shadow of the Third Shinobi World War hasn't yet overwhelmed the other major powers. Hopefully, the provocations from some smaller nations will soon bring stability. Hiruzen Sarutobi, suddenly thrust into the position of leader, felt immense pressure. The village was home to the extremely dangerous Uchiha clan, renowned as the most powerful clan in the ninja world. Smaller nations along the border were attempting to instigate another war between the major powers to weaken them, while spies from various countries were constantly probing Konoha's strength. Konoha had just lost its youngest and shortest-serving Hokage, the fourth Hokage, along with a large number of elite ninjas, a truly turbulent time. Thinking of this, Hiruzen Sarutobi glanced at the photos of the past Hokage on the wall. Seeing the last one, with its golden, youthful, and sunny smile, he sighed, "Minato, you've really left me a mess." The loss of so many elite ninjas meant many departments were short-staffed, and now only the various clans and his Sarutobi clan could fill the gaps. He had also noticed that the gradually stabilizing borders seemed to make some in his clan reluctant to relinquish their power. Internal and external troubles, that was the current state of Konoha. Hokage-sama, this is all the information on Uchiha Yoru. A dark figure flashed by, clearly an Anbu ninja, presenting a stack of intelligence reports to the Hokage's desk. Hiruzen Sarutobi's expression turned serious. In this turbulent time, Orochimaru had actually taken on an Uchiha disciple. What was going on? Orochimaru, are you using the Uchiha's power for the Hokage position? Or is this a conspiracy by the Uchiha clan? Hiruzen Sarutobi muttered to himself as he flipped through Uchiha Yoru's file. It meticulously detailed everything from his origins at the Ninja Academy to records of his conflicts and fights with various characters, truly meticulous. Upon seeing all the information, Hiruzen's brows furrowed even more, and he puffed loudly on his pipe. Yoru awakened the Sharingan because of fear or anger? An orphan, or perhaps anger at the immense losses suffered by Konoha? As a disciple of the second Hokage, he understood the Uchiha clan very well, and thus began to mutter to himself. Finally, Hiruzen narrowed his eyes and noticed an inconspicuous piece of information. A blank sheet of paper clearly stated that the late elite Jonin Yuhi Shiku's daughter, Yuhi Kirine, had an ambiguous relationship with him. Greed? Lustful? Thanks to Brother Pigeon Spirit Ocean for the 100 Kidian coins reward. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.